This is Talk Star Wars, the official podcast of talkstarwars.co.uk. Hello everyone, welcome back to Talk Star Wars. I'm Mark.
Dramatic pause, and I'm Rob.
You haven't got dramatic pause, you've got regular pause.
Oh.
It's just us at the moment, but we are hoping to be joined by another podcaster at some point, but we'll see how that plays out. How you doing, mate?
I'm okay. I'm a little worse for wear from... so we were supposed to record on Thursday night, as some of the VIPs will have seen, but the recording didn't happen, and as a result, I went out and got drunk. It was, yeah, I was sitting there checking my phone, like, just obsessively going, like, you know, I don't mind, you know, I can, if we're going now, I can make my way back. If we're not, it would be nice to know now so I can commit to getting drunk.
Yeah, I called time on it because I've been having technical problems this week with my internet. It's been disastrous, and I picked up this horrible con crud and come home sort of unwell. In fact, I could feel it sort of hitting before I even left before I even left Celebration. And I've just had a real hard time sort of shaking it off. So that evening, whilst you were out merrying things up, I was in bed at 9 o'clock, living the rock and roll lifestyle.
Well, you'd say that. I went to bed at just after 9:30 yesterday.
Oh, God. Yeah.
For the similar reason of I feel absolutely rubbish.
Yeah, so welcome to the disastrously bad at doing things.
The disaster cast.
Disaster cast. Oh, dear. All right. This episode, we are hoping to be joined by at least one of the other guys, but we are recording at a peculiar time, so I will let everybody off for this one. We've got a big, chunky top of the show this week, so let's get into that. So before we get started, we want to say thank you to a bunch of people. So I'd like to say thank you to Stacey and Christopher White and their son for being so lovely at Celebration. I have a story. I'll probably tell it in an After Dark side about meeting Stacey. You know, it's just because it's funny, but it does go on a little bit, and so I won't ruin this episode with it. But we'll tuck it into an After Dark side because it really was the highlight of my con, I think, for me. So yeah, thanks to Stacey and Christopher for being so gracious when I met you. It was wonderful. And also to Dan Solo for being such a lovely guy and really good company and showing me how you do Celebration. That guy is a machine. He is a queuing machine. If you get a chance to check out any of his posts or tweets, or I know he's working on something at the moment, you'll see some of the swag that he bagged while he was out there. The guy is incredible. He's pretty awesome. And also to the Commonwealth, is thanks to Robert Cast, who put up with me non-stop out there, and to Ash and Ben, who are just simply delightful, and to the guys from the Rogue Squadron podcast, who we had dinner and craft beers with. They are superb. It was such an honour to meet everyone from the Commonwealth. What a great bunch of people. And then we've got some of the business-related, some of our new family members' business-related pieces. So thanks to Rob Weston-Jennings, Matt Brunts, Chad Hatfield, Ben Cantor, Charles Becker, and Matthew Bothillo-Jones. Apologies if I...
it's like Bolito?
Right.
Or Bolito?
Well, I apologise if I stamped all over your name, sir. Thank you all for liking our Facebook page this week. It's grown exponentially in a week. Excuse me, I'm still struggling.
Speaking of growing exponentially, Mark.
Yes. Right. So I'm going to let you take one of these names because obviously it meant a great deal to you. So I'm going to leave him to the end so that you can mention him. So a huge thank you to all of those who became VIPs this week. So Jared Peppard, Ryan Valentine, our own Mark Airy, Katie Stubbs, Corey Roussel, and Kevin Sibery. All of you guys became VIPs, so thank you so much. Along with a guy called Omer Ibrahim, who's a very dear friend of mine, one of my E14 colleagues, and he's been a long-time listener and now has finally taken the plunge into the VIP. So welcome, buddy. Yeah, welcome.
Good to have you on board.
It's
He's already. You can see like everybody who's come into the VIP group is literally just settled straight in. Everybody seems to have like a best mate already.
Yeah.
So,
Their jaws. Yeah, everyone gets a VIP buddy. They take their hand and they'll guide them through. It's like an induction process. Everyone that's joined the VIP program this week has been overwhelmed by it. I'm thinking particularly of Katie. She seems to have taken to the community aspect of it like a duck to water. She really loves it.
Yeah, which is really lovely to see. Absolutely great to see.
Yeah, it's great to have that sort of feedback. And it's lovely the way everyone rallies up and invites and welcomes everybody into the group when they first arrive.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a great community. I really enjoy it. And they're going to have a bit of an announcement that relates to that in just a second. So one more thank you. And that's to everyone who's come out in support of the new Hindsight project that Paul and I have going with Matt Keegan.
Yes,
we are so thrilled that so many people are wishing us well, and the Hindsight Facebook page has pretty much doubled since Matt came on board.
That's awesome.
And because it was in limbo. Paul and I had kind of put it up on a shelf and walked away because there's only so many times you can have Hollywood scream no in your face and jab a finger sharply into your chest before you think, do you know what, I'm going to go away and come back when I'm a little bit more confident. And so Matt and I had been talking in the background about this thing. I knew he was interested in Hindsight anyway. And if you haven't heard about this before, Paul and I had written a script a couple of years ago for a time travel story called Hindsight. And we pitched it around movie studios and TV studios. And it had gotten a lot of positive feedback. But I'm starting to realise that is kind of Hollywood's default setting. It's like be really nice to you and then email you with a big fat no.
Lay you down gently, yeah.
So we put it up on the shelf and then we mentioned it on an episode of the podcast a while ago and Matt showed some interest. And then something happened and Matt had revealed in some way to me that he was a novelist. So I threw him the script and said, do you want to be a part of this? And he said, absolutely. So he's working really hard on this now. And Paul and I are sort of just in the wings answering questions about these characters and these situations, and the guy's taking the reins. So this is really exciting for us to see fresh blood in this project and hopefully see it go somewhere a little bit more positive.
Yeah,
so,
well, it's in a good place at this point.
Yeah,
it's kind of jazzed up about it.
Everyone's been so wonderful with their feedback, so we just wanted to say thank you for the support. Okay, this would normally be our review section, but we don't have any reviews this week unless you've had anything through email.
I have nothing new.
Nothing at the moment. So what we've been doing is we've got a thing called the Ron Burgundy policy. I'm aware that this episode there's probably going to be more new listeners than usual because of the trailer and because of Celebration.
Yeah.
So in our review section, what we have is a Ron Burgundy policy, which means that whatever you write in a 5-star review in iTunes, I will read verbatim. So you can make it as ludicrous and as abstract as you like. But equally, if you've got something that you'd like to promote or draw attention to, that might be a good place for you to do it. We will read it word for word as long as it's family friendly. But in the absence of any reviews this week, I need to announce a new initiative. Which I put out yesterday as a bonus episode of the Kessel Run, which is a VIP exclusive, almost daily podcast. And basically the news is that we're starting a monthly giveaway for TSW VIPs. And in May, we're going to be doing a draw of names of VIPs, and the winner will receive a 40th anniversary 6-inch Black Series X-Wing Luke Skywalker action figure, which was exclusive to Star Wars Celebration. We picked up an extra one and brought it home expressly with the thought of giving it away to someone. So if you're a VIP, you're automatically entered into the draw. You don't have to do anything. There's no sort of questions to answer or fees to pay. It's all just a perk of being a part of our supporter group. So if you're not yet a VIP and you'd like to be in with the chance of winning that Luke figure in May, then head to talkstars.co.uk/support and become a VIP for as little as £1 a month. There are other rates of support in there. It depends how much you want to help us develop. The more income we see from these supporters, the more we'll be able to set aside to buy more exciting things to give away.
Yes.
Ultimately, to me, I always set myself a ridiculous goal in the hopes of getting there. Ultimately, I'd like to give away Battlefront 2 and possibly a console to play it on. So
Oh, blimey, yeah. So you are definitely.
I'm aiming pretty
definitely
high.
Got some ambition. Yeah.
I would like to
sure.
see it grow that much. I mean, we've already had an encouraging uptake this week, and everyone that's joined the VIP, it's not just about I just want to win this thing. They've dove into the community, and they're an active part of the community, and that's refreshing to me. So it's not about this carrot we're dangling; it's about the community. So get into that. You benefit from a lot of stuff. You get priority release podcasts, a newsletter every month, access to Facebook Live sessions. Rob often does an AMA. You'll get an exclusive podcast, which is the Kessel Run, which only goes out to the VIPs. There's loads of stuff, and now there's this draw. I'm going to kick it off before we get to the Luke X-Wing with a copy of Thrawn, Star Wars Thrawn, which has just come out. So I'm going to do a draw probably in the next couple of weeks, and the winner will get a copy of Thrawn. So if you're not yet a VIP and you'd like to be in with a chance of winning that, and automatically qualify for the result for the next draws for the Luke X-Wing, and then we're going to give away Matt Keegan's hand-drawn DL44 Blaster, the original copy of that piece of artwork. Some IMAX lobby cards for the Force Awakens. I've got a full set. Things like that are all going to be given away to listeners. Blu-rays, action figures. We'll come up with tons of stuff.
Cool.
So just
I assume incidentally, I'm probably not. I don't qualify. I would imagine, right? Because I kind of shouldn't.
Yeah, I was thinking that we probably won't have the hosts as part of the draw because they're a little bit too close to the to the contest.
Yes.
But you guys, you often benefit from the perky type things I get anyway, like your Rogue One art cards and things like that. So you guys will always benefit from things that I come across. But I would say it's probably fair if we just leave this to the regular VIPs. You guys
fine with that.
Get the pleasure of being the most VIP of VIPs, right? Being
Yeah,
the mic.
I mean, I can deal with having nothing to read. That's fine.
All right, so that's that. That's the giveaway. At talkstarwars.co.uk/support and become a VIP and be in it to win it. All right, we've got some listener comms, some interesting bits to cover before we get to our trailer breakdown for The Last Jedi. First up, we've got... first I should say, if you want to send us your questions or comments, you can do so via Twitter or Facebook, or you can send us an email, and if you attach an MP3, we'll put it out as a voicemail to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. And the first thing we have this week is a voicemail from our very own Matt Keegan.
Welcome back, Mark. Hope you had fun. Listening to your Kessel Run the other day, you were talking about how disappointed you were with Kathleen Kennedy declaring that Leia won't be in Episode 9, even though her brother said that she would be. So I know your reaction. I was just hoping to hear what the other guys thought of it, what their take on that. Is it a spoiler? Is it a silly thing to say? What are your thoughts? Cheers, guys.
So did you catch this announcement from Kathy Kennedy last week?
I did. Once again, as an aside, what an absolute pro she is. So she even when she was dashing hopes, she was doing it so diplomatically.
Yeah, she knows how to play this. I mean, she's been a mover and shaker for decades in some of the top tier circles. So yeah, she's absolutely in control of the situation. But it's the information that was disseminated through her statement that troubled me.
Yeah. Why did it trouble you?
Because I think it just reveals a little bit too much about Leia in 8. If Carrie's absent from 9, I think it's fair to assume that Leia will be absent from 9. If not, there's another problem.
Yeah,
my issues shift.
Yeah, I suppose not necessarily, but I do, because I heard you talk about this. When did I hear you talk about this? Oh, the Kessel Run. Yeah. I heard you mention this, and I can see it's upset the dog.
Yeah, I will probably drop that out of my audio stream.
That's fine.
I'll just mute you, Phil.
Okay. So it does seem... I do understand. the kind of the disappointment around the announcement, because obviously, like you say, it does kind of suggest that her fate is kind of sealed in 8. But there are ways of doing it that don't require her being fully dispatched in episode 8. I can't put it any kinder than that, really.
Yeah, no, that's right. People take it the way it's intended, mate. You speak freely.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, but like I say, there are ways and means of doing it that don't require her fully kind of being dispatched in episode 8. She could be. There's rumors of her being sort of, part of some attack, and she, exerts herself tremendously in the Force, and so she goes into some sort of coma thing. You could have her, sad as it sounds, you could have her not wake up from that.
Yes.
You could, like I say, you could have her, and this is something where they could potentially reuse a bit of footage, like reaction shots and stuff. They could go with my thing, which is have her be on a ship that gets destroyed. There are, I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you want to be as kind as you can, but Carrie's not coming back.
Yeah, no, there's no. That's unavoidable. That's inescapable. We know that they've got technology they can use to tackle it in 9. They've obviously decided not to go that way. They spoke quite openly about Tarkin in Rogue One, and spoke about their options if the technology wasn't going to work. How would you address Tarkin's absence? And it's quite simply you move his story responsibilities and his dialogue to another character. Mm-hmm. So I suspect that that's what we're going to see with regard to Leia's contribution to the story in 9. Everything's going to be relocated to other characters within the script. So I can see they're handling it practically. I would rather this news not have been announced until after 8, so that I didn't have that in mind when I'm watching the film. Is all.
Yeah.
Because now I'm going to be waiting for Leia to die on screen. That's what I'm going to be waiting for. We know that she comes under attack. Ryan Johnson pretty much had input to Bloodline and had Claudia Gray introduce the napkin bombing, the attempt on Leia's life, deliberately to set up the events of 8. So we know there's going to be another attempt on her life in 8. And like you said, that we heard the rumour a while ago that she uses the Force to defend herself and manages to survive this attack in some way, but is incapacitated for a large portion of the movie.
Yeah.
That's fine. If I'm watching that thinking she's going to make a triumphant return, great. But now I'm going to be watching it thinking, hope she makes a triumphant return. And then how are they going to handle it in 9? And I've got too much rattling around in my head now. I would much rather they shelved any conversation about Carrie and Leia until after we've seen episode 8, and then it'll either speak for itself if they kill the character off, or we're left with this big cliffhanger. Is how do you address that now? If Leia makes it out of 8 in one piece, how do you address it? How do you tackle it?
Yeah,
and coming out and saying no Carrie in 9 just leads me to think that they're going to kill Leia off.
It does certainly lend itself to that outcome most heavily, doesn't it? Yeah,
I mean, they're not saying no Leia in 9.
No,
they're saying no Carrie. So does that mean a recast? Because I'm not on board with that.
Well, this is what I was saying. Now people are going to be like, "Oh man, can we get some CG options?" Be like, "Oh, we changed our tack. That's all right." I mean, I get it. Like I say, I would rather have CG than a recast any day of the week.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what the reaction is if that's the way they're thinking of going in the end.
Yeah, a disembodied voice even would be something.
That works.
But I wonder how much of that qualifies as Carrie.
Yeah,
or
I know what you mean.
Do you have a character? I mean, this is a bit of a rat hole, and we could drop down it, which I don't really want to do because we've got plenty to get to this.
That's fine.
In this episode. But you could have a character channel Carrie if she was.
Yeah.
If they decide to say, when she ends up in this coma in episode 8, you could introduce the concept of Carrie communicating through another character, perhaps through Billy Lord, who seems to be closely, her character in the movie seems to be closely connected to General Leia. So you could have Leia use her to communicate through, and hopefully it won't come off like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more sensitive, but you could have her sort of pass messages through the Force to the people that she's in command of or supposedly communicating with. And that could be a way of doing it. You move the story responsibilities to another character, but you do it in a way where you're not recasting or you're not undermining Leia's importance to the story, but you get you literally put their dialogue in another character's mouth. That could be one way of doing it, but I just wish I hadn't had to consider this now, because I don't want to be waiting for Leia's end in 8. I'd rather go in pure and unspoiled in that regard. But that's just me. I have a problem with it.
That's fair enough.
Anyway, so Matt, I'm sorry the other guys couldn't be here to give you their take on it, but you got the most important ones.
Shots fired.
Right, Paul has now joined the call, so just in time for us to tackle Ad's question. Paul, hello, mate.
Hello.
He's back.
Yeah, sorry, I've been doing my Jedi training for a few weeks over in some little island somewhere, but it's nice. I've got a bit of a tan. It's all good.
Nice.
Any force powers?
I failed, by the way.
You mentioned the tan first. It just made me suspicious.
Yeah. The Jedi's in Crete, they're nothing to talk about.
You went with the do not part of the equation, did you?
Yeah, I went dark side. It was much easier. It just took the short route.
Well, let's get into it. Paul, do you want to take Ad's question to bring yourself back into the fold after a few weeks away?
Indeed. Right, here we go. This is from Ads. Okay, starting. It says, "Hey, Mark." Ads. Yeah, there's more than just Mark here,
Well,
so,
you can never be sure.
Occasionally.
Okay, right. Hope you and the Talk Star Wars crew are well. All right, firstly, you can't quite believe it's taken me 6 months to check out the Facebook group. Really? It's brilliant fun in there, and I'd recommend becoming a VIP for that alone. I don't really do Facebook. We'll have to make an exception from now on. I'll just sit in on the group, ignoring the boring part of Facebook, and interact with you guys and all the great VIPs. I love all the new stuff that's come out in recent weeks, and the content is superb across the Talk Star Wars board and the Commonwealth as a whole. I'd like to quickly interject and second that. I've been away and I've been doing various bits and pieces, but for the last few weeks, Mark, everything is buffering up enormously, and I've got to tip my hat to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Very kind.
Another massive thanks to you and everyone else who helped get a glimpse of Star Wars Celebration Orlando. It sounded brilliant, but rather frustrating 4 days. So my question for you this week's show, if you've got the time, is based upon the Last Jedi trailer. Much debate has been previously about what Rey and Luke's first exchange may be. So have your thoughts changed about how this meeting will go down and what the first words that may be? I look forward to listening to you guys. Always take care, Ads. Well, thanks for that, sir. We have had not many, we've had several conversations about how this will go, haven't we?
Yes, yeah.
And I'm a bit, I honestly don't think I even have a clear thought on this now based on what we expected from the standoff in the TFA to what we saw in the trailer.
Yeah. I can't say I have much in the way of a clear position on this, but I have got an interesting comment based on something somebody said to me. But Rob, why don't we chuck this to you to start us off?
Okay.
Luke and Rey's first interaction. What's your thoughts?
I've had a slight change of heart. I used to think that the interaction would be based on him and Rey. His comment would be about Rey, but I actually have started to think that he might make a point of talking about the lightsaber that's in her hand instead. Mm-hmm. Very much like maybe not a where did you get that, but kind of. I thought I'd seen the last of that.
Been looking at that for ages.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been looking. Did you find it? Was it the meme that's like?
Yeah. Was there a hand with that? Yeah. Hand? It'd be great if he took it off of her and sort of rolled it over in his hand. It had a little sticker on it that said "Property of Luke Skywalker, Esquire" or something.
He's like, "Oh no, it's authentic."
Yeah.
Yeah. As a quick aside, actually, Ads mentioned that he wants to sort of find a nice way to avoid the boring parts of Facebook. I have a really good way actually that I just discovered last night, so I'll share that.
Yes, do.
For free. If you're on your phone and you have the Facebook, the normal Facebook app or whatever, if you go into the group that you want to see more of and not worry about the other crap, then you can, in the settings menu, there's actually an option to add that to your home screen. So you can go directly from the the thing to, directly into the piece of actual content you want to interact
That's
with.
interesting. I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed. Did you see about 3 weeks ago I did a Facebook farewell? I took a bit of a timeout, basically.
Yeah, it's good to do every now and then.
But now I've got reason to reset that situation because,
VIP group.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So, okay, awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's worth knowing. So you can have that for free. It works for sure with Android. I would be very surprised if it doesn't work with iOS.
I'm just looking through the iOS app now, and I can't see anything.
What's iOS? Is that
Yeah,
that fruity?
exactly.
That's that fruity one, isn't it?
Yes, it is a bit
the
fruity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see anything in the iOS app to pin it. But
okay.
it is iOS does have its own Facebook group app.
I was going to say it has. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. It's like you can just go straight into your groups from an app. Yeah.
Probably don't work.
Yeah,
Well.
not reliably.
Only works on the
Marc's
latest one.
network anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, not this morning. So this whole Ray meets Luke thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody, and I can't remember who it was, so I do apologise. But they suggested that maybe Ray would be completely overwhelmed. I think it might have been Dave Donovan. Ray might be completely overwhelmed by Luke's force power, especially if he hasn't used it in a while. And that might sort of replace any opening dialogue. It might just be her being hit with a wave of power. Which, considering the way this trailer opens, when I first saw the trailer, I thought, oh, hang on a minute, that looks like that might be what Dave suggested. That she's just overwhelmed.
I've got an opinion on that.
This is really potent.
But we're talking about that after, aren't we? Yeah.
We're going to break down the trailer today, so maybe we should reserve comments on those specific items for that.
Yeah, all our speculations that turn out to be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't imagine this being a polite chit chat, but at the moment I'm having difficulty imagining the film starting the way we saw that announcement tease. You know, that little shot where they recreated the last few moments of TFA.
I don't think that's the first shot.
I don't think that's the first shot.
I think it's the first time we see them.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the first shot. I think the first shot will be much like. I think it would be.
That's not what Brian said.
He said Well, let me find what he. Because this is a common thing. The common problem we have with Star Wars quotage and stuff is that the actual quote is really far removed from
the way it gets decanted.
From the end. Yeah, exactly.
Suggesting Chinese whispers hit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
His exact words were, "I don't want to skip ahead 2 years. I want to see the very next moment of what happens."
Yeah.
So actually, all that says to me is their interaction will be immediate.
Yes.
But obviously, there's been time. A small amount of time has passed elsewhere while she's been traveling.
Yeah.
So I think it will be the initial. I think the first shot will be a little bit like it'll be a kind of a nod to Empire, but it won't be a direct. It won't be like probe droids going out across the galaxy. But I do think there's going to be. We're going to start with the First Order.
Yeah, you would. If there were probe droids, you would hear eyes rolling in heads, wouldn't you?
For sure. And mine would be one of them.
Yeah.
One of those pairs.
Could hear that? Wow.
Yeah. I've got a weird thing.
I tell you what, they can use the music for that sequence because that's phenomenal.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, there'll probably be some music cues,
They
but
could just totally bastardize it for all I care because that's a really cool piece. That's a great track.
There were John Williams will hit those themes when he does that.
Yeah.
Those motifs in his score.
He didn't do much of it in TFA though.
No, but
Which, as you know, I had a mild disappointment with the way that came through. But I don't care if he starts reversing some of that and bring some of those, those little themes back in.
Well, this trailer, the score for this trailer alone, it knits so much together from both sides.
So did the TFA one, mate.
Yeah, but then I think this is
Williams.
Williams.
So, right,
that wasn't Williams' orchestration.
TFA's trailer music wasn't done by Williams, was it? It was a mishmash, kind of Junkie XL mishmash type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a similar sort of thing.
Well, they're definitely using some of the Williams orchestration from TFA because you've got the Ray theme in there, peppered throughout, which is just gorgeous. It's apparently a highlight of that soundtrack.
I haven't gone back and listened since I learned this, but apparently the last shot where you sort of see the logo is interspersed with Snoke's theme as well.
Oh, right, interesting. Yeah, there is a little bit of that sort of that Mal choral thing going on in there. It's very ominous. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it.
A bit like that. Yeah,
we're going
I do it all, mate. Yeah.
Well, in terms of first words, there's I can't really imagine what's going to happen. I like the idea of it almost being wordless, which is the way TFA ended it. And perhaps if you just put any dialogue in, then that might break that a little bit. But visually, I like the idea of Luke calling the saber to him.
Okay.
Out of her hands. I think that might say a lot without requiring any dialogue.
She's holding it so tight, she gets pulled over and slams into him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have said I was going to do that.
I remember telling you guys a long time ago. I think that there's a bit Gandalf here, and he's a bit of a man with a plan.
Okay.
He's got some expectancy, and I think things that as I have foreseen them and all that kind of thing. And I think he's going to be like, where have you been, or I've been expecting you. Not her necessarily, but
somebody.
Somebody. And he's been like, okay, let's it's time.
I don't know. The more we hear about from like panels and stuff, the more it seems to me like he's going to be like, "What do you want?"
Yeah, it does. He doesn't. He sounds like he's going to be the curmudgeon, doesn't he?
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, I'll bet he'll. If nothing else, Mark Hamill can make that hilarious.
Yeah.
If anybody, if I have faith in anybody to make it a rip roaring good time.
Find your friend, I will.
For an old person to be a bit of a tool, like Mark Hamill's the man to do.
Yeah, well, we'll get to all that. We'll go through all that in the trailer breakdown. For the time being, ads, I think we're going to probably just suggest that we don't know.
I do. I just said to you, it's going to be a statement of expectancy. It's time. Okay. It's going to be that.
So he might pull his sleeve back, look at his watch, and go, "Where have you been?"
Yeah, he's always going to say, "That lightsaber's got a digital clock. Can you tell me the time, please?"
Yeah.
Tell you what. Actually, there's a possibility of somewhere between the two. Actually, where he kind of says, "So it's time,"
right?
Rather than rather than him expecting this to happen on this particular day, it's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because of something obviously we see in the trailer.
Let me ask you a quick question. Then, how much would you lose your mind if his first words to her are simply "Rey"?
I would be a little bit okay.
I mean, what would that do if he says Rey?
That'd be really cool and a little bit at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one, Paul. I'd sort of in the moment I'd probably be like, "Oh wow," and then afterwards I think about, "Hang on."
Yeah, because he can't see too much. Otherwise, if everything is destined that much, it's like, well, hang on a minute, how does anybody get a chance to do A, B, and C if this is all pre-written and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
And we know he doesn't. Obviously, that's not the case because elsewhere, I keep doing it. Elsewhere in the trailer, we see something else that if he'd have foreseen, he might be able to do something about. But there you go.
Mm.
Yes, exactly. I know exactly what you're referring to, and that's an interesting point in the trailer. Right, we'll get to that in a second. All right, Ads, thanks for your question, and thanks for the very kind comments within. Right, we're going to go to our quick break now, and then when we come back, we're going to pick up with Connor's Corner.
Did we just have one?
Another one. It's the contractually obligated break, this one.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. If you'd like to support what we do here at Talk Star Wars, you can do so by becoming a TSW sponsor. For as little as £1 per month given securely via PayPal, you can help us keep the lights on here at TSW. When you become a TSW sponsor, we will elevate you to VIP status. As a TSW VIP, you'll get access to an exclusive stream that provides you with fun downloads like HD wallpapers for your desktop, tablet and mobile device, ringtones and text alerts courtesy of our very own audio Jedi at Rob Wade Vision. You'll also receive a monthly newsletter with news about what's going on here at Talk Star Wars, and you'll get a priority release of the new Star Wars audio commentary series called TSW Feature Comms. All this for as little as £1 per month. Head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and become a TSW sponsor today, and the Force will be with you always.
And we're back. So that was the VIP program spot, right, Mark?
It was indeed.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, there's even more incentive every day to become part of that. So I don't even need to tell you the virtues. I'm just going to tell you the location again, talkstarwars.co.uk/support. But as is customary, after we hear from the VIPs, or why you should become one at least, we get to hear from one of them, which is Connor's Corner featuring Leo. So Connor writes thusly. Well, gents, celebration has come and gone, and the red dust has settled. Nice touch. I hope everyone got something out of it that has them pumped for the future of Star Wars. This week's Tumbling Saber podcast featuring Rob was an excellent listen, and so good to hear the various opinions of the guy. Oh, this also goes for the excellent Talk Star Wars with Ash, Rob, Cast, and Mark. Well done, guys and girl. This week's show, I'm sure, will be very celebration-centric, and rightly so. So if you'll indulge me with a little Rogue One chatter for a minute or two. Leo and I sat down to watch the bonus features, which were great, by the way. Then we started to watch the section called Rogue Connections. I don't know if you've watched it yet. It goes into all the Easter eggs, some obvious and some obscure. Anyway, they get to that Vader scene, and the voiceover goes on to say that this is the first time that Lord Vader has used his lightsaber on non-Jedi combatants. Is it me, or does this seem weird to you? Really, in the 18-year gap, this is the only time he's done this. He's never been dispatched to deal with anyone since the end of Episode 3. If indeed Rogue One is canon, it most certainly is, it would make this canon also. If we ever get a Vader film, it'll be him wiping out the remaining Jedi in duel after duel, which does sound good, I know, but the reason we love that Rogue One scene was for his force choking, laser bolt catching, and repelling badassery. He's not going to encounter blaster fire from a Jedi. He can't just have been in the bath all this time waiting for Tarkin to call. Anyway, just wanted to get your take on this, even if it's just shut up, Connie, you're reading too much into this, or it does seem odd. Thanks, gents, and as always, we look forward to hearing what you have to say on this topic. P.S. Mark, I hope you had a great time at Celebration, you lucky moof milker. I'm gonna skip the announcer voice for this one just because it's Saturday morning. This email was brought to you by Bull Gullet Insurance Claims. If you're lying, we'll know.
What a great tagline.
Yeah. What's a moof?
Moof milker. We believe that's where the blue milk comes from.
So a moof is a beast.
A BS.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Goes to Google.
I need to see a picture of this beast.
So yeah, I saw this documentary of which he speaks, the special features, and yeah, I took it as a reference to the first time we've seen it on film.
Yeah, I think that's probably true because there's comics and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, and I'm reading Vader at the moment. I'm coming to the end of it actually.
Yeah,
and that lightsaber comes out an awful lot.
Yeah, it does seem to be.
But I can't think of a time when he's sort of taken down any troops with it, because he's usually quite forcey.
Yeah.
But he does take off. I can't think of the name of the location, but there's a mining planet, and there's a member of the royal family that runs this mining planet, and he takes a hand off with a lightsaber.
Okay.
So he does, in the comic books, he does use it against non-Jedi combatants. So I think that they're probably just referring to on film.
Yeah, I would say that's probably fair enough. And I would say that makes sense as well. You know, because if you think about it from a cinematic point of view, it makes when he does pull out the lightsaber more significant by far. If he's, if he's only using it like, it's against Obi-Wan, it's against Luke, it's against this corridor full of people, but you get the impression that he's really, only going to use that lightsaber when he absolutely needs to.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of cool.
Yeah,
interesting, because for Ben and Co, it's a standard, sort of issued weapon, isn't it? They use it against the robots and everybody. So
yeah. But obviously in Kenobi now, post Revenge of the Sith, he only gets the lightsaber out in A New Hope, and he gets it out very briefly in Rebels.
Yes.
So beyond that, we don't have. So that you do kind of get the sense of this. It might even be deliberate and a very subtle attempt to reframe the lightsaber as a needs must weapon.
Yes,
like one that's got trying to rebuild that prestige that you can kind of argue the prequels took away from that a touch just by having so many Jedi and so many big battles and stuff. But I mean, not to say they weren't awesome, but you can see how you could make the argument that removes the kind of the prestige of the lightsaber if they're being seen so much. Whereas in the original trilogy and since in Connected Materials, it's not so liberally use of the same.
Yeah, the younger element of myself always used to think of it. It only came out during the honourable fight situation, if that makes sense.
Right.
So when it's it was the standoff situation. Okay, I mean they even made a point of it. They'd stand opposite each other and chew, and then they'd both extend their sabers and so on.
I mean,
and you
Luke
thought, it's a one-on-one time, and that's when the saber comes out. Beyond that,
Luke goes on it a bit in Jedi.
Completely legal. Yeah.
He uses it a bit in Jedi before he gets to Endor, and also on Endor actually.
Yeah, he has to cut himself out of the
on
ice
the Forest
and
Moon
stuff.
rather. Yeah, cuts himself out the ice, and he used it in Jedi to obviously during the big fight on Jabba's sail barge. But I mean, Force Awakens is relatively sparing. It's only really,
Well, they nearly all have a go in that, don't they?
Yeah,
a
some of
couple
it's all a bit
couple of
clumsy.
people do, sure. Yeah, but this is it. But it's all kind of it feels like a world that's not used to the Jedi's and the lightsabers being part of it. So it's it
I have
kind
to
of
add,
fits.
I seriously, and I don't know if they're going to go back to it at all, but I seriously thought Finn looked super, super cool with one.
Oh, totally, yeah.
And I was like, I'm like, oh, bring it on, man. I'm happy to watch this sort of thing.
That was-
and,
yeah, I mean,
he
that
gets,
was totally-
he gets his back cut off.
Yeah, and that was totally telegraphed as well. The whole build up to the
Yeah, there was no accident.
Awakens, we forget, so easily we forget, we were being built up to believe from just watching the trailers that Finn was the guy who was going to be the Jedi.
Yeah, it was very tricky, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very tricky.
So it was
I didn't think that.
No, I know a few people didn't, but I mean, I was kind of,
I was still wrong. I thought it was Chewie.
oh, fine, I'll get involved.
Yeah, I've been watching for 30 years.
Chucks
I
the
should join in a
bowcaster
bit.
to one
yeah.
side in a single shot, undoing all the good work they've done with that.
All right. Yeah, so I think we can probably safely say that, yes, he has used it against non-Jedi combatants.
Yeah,
he
just
does in
not
the comic books.
not on screen.
But it's
just-
in the EU, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first time on screen we've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, on the big screen, because I can't remember about Rebels, but I don't think we saw it there.
Rebels, Vader's used pretty sparingly, isn't he? So
Yeah,
with, I think he goes up against Kanan and Ezra at some point, but
and
it's
Ahsoka.
held back really for Ahsoka, which
Quick
is
question.
where
I've
the
never
money
even
is.
considered this before. The games, the Xbox and everybody else, and any other, recommended kind of PlayStation situation. I said it, PlayStation situation. Do the stories on the back of those games get considered canon in any shape or form?
Only
Because they're quite intricate,
campaigns.
aren't they?
Yeah, only campaigns. So in
The whole Battlefront thing, yeah?
Battlefront 2, which is the one that's coming out later on this year, has a campaign, and
It does.
my understanding is that's considered canon.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
Inferno Squad, isn't it?
Otherwise, every battle in the game that anybody has would be canon, which would be an
I just
hot
had a
mess.
thought of me phoning Lucasfilm 10 minutes into the game. Yeah, I've just crashed my X-Wing. Luke is dead. And they'll have
Yeah,
to,
Luke's dead, so
Pablo
that's,
will have to
if
write
you
him
could
out.
Pablo, if you could
Yeah.
make that
I'm
work.
referring more to the back end animation we get before you kick go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
in canon situations. So with the first Battlefront, as I understand it, the Battle of Jakku was a big
Yes.
was a big part of that. And
Yeah.
having not made it that far, I can't tell you. But
First piece of downloadable content, as I recall.
and now it's in novels, isn't it? In Empire's End. So
Yep.
yeah, they're pretty closely.
All right.
Everything's pretty closely tied together.
Yeah, certain events are.
So I'm assuming the game makers have to issue what their plans are to Lucasfilm, and they go, "Yeah, go ahead."
Yeah,
With the campaign, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And in fact, one of I think it's not canon anymore, but when the Force Unleashed games came out, I think that had to be very heavily run by Lucas because of what they were planning on doing to make it sort of, how it tied into the current storyline, how they wove that in. They have to be very careful.
Yeah, well, big time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like hindsight. You drop one little feather in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Well, quite so.
Yeah.
Well, that's not our responsibility anymore. That's mad. Right, let's
breaking.
Yeah,
let's
get
move,
it right. Okay.
let's move on to some Star Wars news, and we'll start with Star Wars Celebration because that's where most of the news has come from the past week or so.
Well, I haven't had a chance to discuss any of this with you, obviously.
No, well, we've got these bullet points, and we'll jump off from there. But I am keen to get to this trailer breakdown because that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. Right.
Trailer?
So, Star Wars Celebration, The Last Jedi kind of owned the whole thing.
You knew that was going to be the case, though, didn't you?
I think so. That and the 40th anniversary. I really read that situation very, very wrong. But with the whole 40th, I kind of knew. I had an inkling from the start that it meant George, and I did I think I did a top 5 standing by where I sort of said if George is there, I'm hoping they're going to get him to recut Star Wars, and these are the things I want him to change. So we kind of knew that George was likely to be there. I hadn't really anticipated that Hayden Christensen would only be appearing as a tribute to George.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what it was. It was Hayden and Harrison and
McDermott.
And everybody that showed up, really, it was just for George.
Yeah, because Hayden Christensen wasn't on the panel, was he?
He
was very briefly.
He was on the panel.
He was on the panel briefly. I must have missed that.
He went up,
blinked.
He went up with him.
40th anniversary. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
He barely said a word.
Yeah. So there's no indication. I don't think we can draw any conclusion yet, but there's certainly nothing in there that suggests to me that he's involved in any way, shape, or form.
What's nice is I wonder if Hayden was sitting there, everybody's like cheering. He's like, "Yeah, you cheer away. You must think I have the shortest memory in the world, you lot."
Yeah,
because there's a few people who gave him a hard time.
This is something. If you listen to the latest Skyhoppers podcast, because I've just binged the whole lot over the past couple of days, Ben says he didn't pick up on any prequel hate at Celebration, and I can honestly say,
I believe it.
I've got to shout Celebration out for this. I didn't pick up on any hate whatsoever. It was just such a glorious environment to be in. And Paul, you probably remember that from last year in London. It was one of those things where it's so tremendously positive. Everybody, you can strike up a conversation with a person next to you because you share a love of the same thing, and nobody is down on anything.
It's just tribal, but it's one tribe. That's it.
It's just glorious. So him sitting up there with people just screaming up, "We love you, Hayden." It was just a really lovely thing to see. Reaffirming in some way. I really do want that guy involved more now, though, with these films, especially when you think that he could go back into the suit for a Vader movie if they just scaled the suit down so that it actually fit him.
Yeah.
And not the thing they built for Sith, which was ridiculously big and he was rattling around in it.
Yeah.
Just scale him down and do a Lord of the Rings style perspective thing. That's your key, isn't it, to that? But
yeah.
So the Last Jedi panel pretty much owned it with the insights we were getting on stage from the actors. And I must say, a lot of what was said seemed painfully scripted. Now,
for sure.
That comes off a little bit more negative than perhaps it should, but they
maybe
were
a little stilted.
Very careful after last year's slip up.
Oh, I see.
Zhang Wen.
Yeah.
So John Boyega, Daisy Ridley is such a pro. She sounded like she was just talking off the top of her head when she spoke.
Yeah.
John Boyega sounded like he was reading a statement.
Right.
And he sounded very controlled. And you know what John Boyega's like? He's extremely charismatic, larger than life, isn't he? He's full of energy. And he goes off like a firework on stage. But there was none of that. It was everyone's seen the panel by now, but in my estimation, he was very calm and calculated when he was talking to make sure that he said what he needed to say, and then he could get back into the flourishes. But I thought there was very little about Finn on that stage. An awful lot about Kelly Marie Tran's character Rose, because she's the new kid on the block.
I don't know anything about this one at all.
No. Well, if you scroll down on the page where we've got the images for the still store for the trailer, underneath there you see there's a picture of Carrie and Ryan Johnson. These are stills from the Last Jedi panel, so you can see some of the images that were up on the screen as they were talking, like Rey under the Falcon in the rainstorm and what have you. And you can see there's a picture of Kelly Marie Tran, John Boyega, and Daisy Ridley. And they look like the older statesmen now, and she looks like they did last time.
Yeah, all excited.
You know, she's this bubble of energy, isn't she?
Yeah.
And there's a picture of Rose in costume on set.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. I get the impression that she's going to be on the Luke Skywalker journey in this movie.
I don't get that impression at all. I think she's the opposite. I think she's part of the Finn, Poe, Leia kind of half of the story.
I mean, in as much as she's a maintenance worker that gets plucked out of obscurity and propelled into this adventure, much like Luke when he's taken off the farm in the first one.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Finds himself out of his element.
Oh, in which case, I can see that more. Sorry, I misunderstood what you meant by the Luke Skywalker journey. I thought you meant that storyline.
No, not anything related to the Force, but like a hero's journey of being swept up in events and being forced to deliver. And I think that John Boyega, well, Finn's responsibility is to get her where she needs to be. So it would almost be like if there were analogues at play here, Finn is suddenly Han Solo.
Yeah.
Kelly Marie Trans Rose is Luke Skywalker, and Finn needs to get her somewhere.
Yeah.
To achieve her goal, which I think is Canto Bight, the planet we spoke about, where Justin Theroux's Slicer is.
Is that because of something she can do or something she knows?
Think probably something she can do.
Yeah.
And maybe
or something she sees, maybe.
She might be the last person that could possibly do it. Maybe she's on Leia's ship when it falls under attack. Maybe she's the only person left who can do whatever needs to be done.
That's possible, yeah.
Whatever it is, the situation is going to conspire to propel this young lady onto a mission with our heroes from the first film sort of helping her do it. Yeah, but I liked her. I thought she was awesome. Really lovely.
Okay. I didn't see the actual panel itself. I just kind of took the takeaway, so I didn't actually get a chance to see.
It is worth a watch. It's there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, even if it's just to watch Kathleen Kennedy watching closely over everyone when they're speaking and jumping on you.
Drop the bomb. Yeah.
She sort of cuts in on Marc at one point and says, "I'm going to just take over here," and bigs him up because he's being a little bit humble.
Yeah.
And but I do wonder what she had seen. Where is this going? Because he'd already made a comment about Rey being his daughter.
As a joke.
Yeah,
he's clearly messing with people.
People don't take it as a joke, though.
No, of course.
They never take that as a joke.
There's 8 videos on conspiracy YouTube channels about it already.
One of them is ours. So the second point is the Carrie Fisher tribute. There isn't a single person there who did not cry.
It was beautiful. It was really lovely.
The whole thing was just wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've got a clip actually of George talking about Carrie. I'll just play it.
I've seen that.
Here he goes now.
Carrie Fisher, and I've said many times now, she really isn't just, you put guy's clothes on her and she becomes a hero. She was a princess. She was a senator. She played a part that was very smart. And she was having to hold her own against 2 big lugs, goofballs that were screwing everything up. But she was the boss. It was her war. And when I cast it, I said, I really want somebody young to play the part. I want somebody very young. And when Carrie came in, she was that character. She was very strong, very smart, very funny, very bold, very tough. There really wasn't much of a question. There are not very many people like her. They're 1 in a billion. And for this particular part, it was absolutely perfect. She wore a dress through the whole thing, but she was the toughest one of the group. And that's the key to Carrie being able to play that part. It was a hard part to play. And she pulled it off brilliantly. She was brilliant, and obviously we'll all miss her, but she'll always be the princess who took command and never backed down, never was in jeopardy. She was always helping the other guys get out of the messes they created. So we'll all love her forever and ever.
The maker himself there talking about the late great Carrie Fisher.
I saw all those, actually. I did watch all those.
Yeah. There isn't a person there that didn't shed a tear when that started. And when John Williams came out...
Oh, that was the bit that almost got me, was watching that, and I was they're not good.
And as soon as that, I think it's a piccolo at the start of it might be a flute, at the start of the Princess theme.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That just tore me to pieces. And in the closing ceremony as well, they played a clip of that, and it was something about somebody made a comment about how you see young children, like little girls, infants, dressed.
I saw that.
Dressed in that, and they had the music playing. Oh God!
Yeah,
I was like
I
was like a water feature in the middle of that, auditorium. It was just like,
you are a softie, aren't you?
Oh, really am. I just can't handle this whole thing. It's just.
I thought they did it all really positively, and it was
Yeah,
a nice
oh, it was-
shining light situation, and
it was
I
beautiful.
commend them for that. It was
And Billy Lord
it was
coming
sad,
out as well.
but they made it. It made you feel as good as much as it made you feel sad. So that's the thing.
Yeah, and everyone had such wonderful things to say. And Billy Lord coming out and the way she was welcomed by the crowd.
She handled that pretty well, actually.
Yeah, she did good. She did them on proud.
Yeah, that was all good. It was good.
Oh, anyway, before
We've
I
got to
start
move on because
again,
Mark's going to lose it.
yeah,
Yeah,
there we go. Some more sad news was the end of Star Wars Rebels. So Dave Filoni came out and announced on stage that season 4 of Star Wars Rebels will be it, and he's going to make a concerted effort to take it where it needs to go. So I'm not sure. I think he's probably indicating getting closer to A New Hope, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think a few characters are probably not going to make it through the whole series.
Yeah,
So maybe that's it. What he means.
So is that where
by
they are?
take
They're
it where it
literally on the
needs to
cusp
go.
of A New Hope.
Couple of years.
Yeah.
The estimate is they're a couple of years short of A New Hope in the current season.
Okay, so are they going to tag onto a little bit of Rogue One kind of bridging as well?
I think they have to.
Possibly.
I really hope that they do. I think
That's like a little That's like a little Cloverleaf situation going on, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
yeah. I'd like to see that. I'd like to know. I think the show now has an opportunity to sort of show us exactly who was on the Ghost at Scarif, because we know it's Hera because we hear her called over the tannoy in the base.
You hear a Hera?
Hera. And Chopper. We know Chopper's around as well.
Yep.
So that's what happens to the rest of them.
Who we also
interesting.
saw in Rogue One.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So
Yeah.
that would be
I'm
interesting.
kind
That
of.
I think that was only a silly Easter egg, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
fan service. It's the good kind of fan service that I'm kind of well behind,
Yeah.
because it's light and it's not, ham-fisted. It doesn't take away from the film if you don't get it. It's the ideal kind of fan service, really.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I will say this, I'm kind of a little bit, I'm kind of glad that Rebels will finish at 4, because I do feel like if they carried on, it would just start to get there would be more filler episodes
yeah.
just to spread the story out. I think the choice of, is it 15 for series 4?
I think it is, yeah.
I think that's very smart, because I think they're just going to boil it down to the very bare bones, what we really want to talk about, rather than having, some really, there's some good episodes in there.
As long as they do that, though, Rob. As long as they do it, because they had an opportunity with Twin Sons where they had 22 minutes to tell that story.
Yeah.
And the pace of storytelling when you had Maul and Obi-Wan on screen together was breakneck, and they probably could have done with a little bit more room to move, but they spent some of that time on Ezra sort of wandering through the desert, and I've heard a lot of people complain about that.
I don't fall out with that complaint, to be honest. I do think there's some truth to that. They could have probably cut it, made it, either made it a 2-part and spread the Ezra thing more out. He had some mild personal realizations during that sort of journey. So, you could spread those out, make them more impactful, and then you could have the second part be, a bit more. But then I suppose the inevitable question would be, if let's say he meets Kenobi at the end of part 1, what do they talk about in part 2? Because they got 22 minutes to talk about the Force. It's like they're gonna talk about something. They're either going to cover stuff that everybody's heard before, or they're going to say something that they don't want revealed yet.
Yeah, they have to be a bit careful, don't they? I suppose once the camera's on that Obi-Wan character, everyone's paying twice as much attention.
For sure.
One thing that he did mention in one of these panels, Dave Filoni, was he referred to the Luke figure, the animated Luke figure at the end of that episode, as a little boy.
Yeah. Okay.
Which bugs me, because that's just not the case, unless it was a flashback and it was an old moment that Obi-Wan went to visit the Lars homestead, and we're just seeing a part of his history.
Possibly.
I don't think that was made clear.
It could also be symbolic rather than
I think that's definitely
literal.
The case, but we're a literal fandom, aren't we? If you hear Luke refer to Rey as his daughter on stage as a joke, we all take it and start making custom action figures. But it's perhaps we need to just dial it back a little bit, and but then they need to appreciate that that's the fandom they're dealing with. So when you're putting something forward like this is Luke, he's a little boy, when you had his twin sisters, almost a full-grown woman a couple of seasons ago, stealing the Hammerhead ships, that perhaps they need to pay a little bit closer attention to those things.
Well,
The continuity issue there.
Yeah,
a little
I
bit.
suppose they could argue. You could make the argument that part of it is what they've experienced and what they've seen. You know, because Leia's obviously been exposed to more drama and more danger than Luke had.
And she's a politician. She had to step up to bat, and Luke was almost been infantilized by his aunt and uncle on the farm because they want to keep him safe.
So so desperate are they not for him not to make the same mistakes as Anakin?
If that was the intention, then great.
Yeah,
that's great. I don't mind. I just think they might have gone a shade too far with the representation of Luke and the comment that he was a little boy. That it may be a shade too far, but if that is the tone that they're trying to put across, then great. If the kids are supposed to, like the audience, are supposed to relate to Luke as one of them, then it's perfectly judged. If you're going to take that story on further in Rebels or in another animated series,
then fair enough.
Yeah, then fair enough. But,
I get what you mean. I mean, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate, really.
Yes, yeah. That's good. Otherwise, we have nothing to talk about. There were no big reveals at Celebration, really.
No.
There are no future projects announced.
Nope.
No surprise casting. Nothing from the Han Solo set.
Nope.
So no mention of the next Celebration. No mention of D23. So even though there was some really interesting stuff that come out about collectibles, I mean, read Tim's posts on the site about what's coming there. There's some really exciting things going on in that arm of Star Wars. But in terms of what's coming to the big screen and the small screen, because even though Filoni hinted at another animated series and they pulled the cover off of Forces of Destiny, which is like a micro animated series. There's still no marquee announcements at this Celebration, which is, I think I said before I wasn't expecting it because they've got too much on the go at the moment and you don't want to steal anything's thunder. But, no big reveals. So let's talk about this Carrie Fisher. We touched on it earlier, Rob, in our first voicemail, but Carrie Fisher will not be used in episode 9. That was Kathleen Kennedy's statement. Paul, did you see this?
Yes.
I'm going to play the clip of Kathleen talking to somebody on Good Morning America. So this is Kathleen Kennedy.
Todd Fisher has said that his sister, that Carrie, will be a part of episode 9. In what capacity are we using pre-shot footage?
He was probably confused because we finished everything in 8, and Carrie is absolutely phenomenal in the movie, and we're so happy that we were able to complete shooting in the summer. Unfortunately, Carrie passed away, so by the time we were well underway with episode 9 in our thoughts, we had not written the script yet, but we've regrouped. We started over again in January, so sadly, Carrie will not be in 9.
So, but we'll see her.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of her in 8, which is great.
So, no Carrie Fisher in 9. We discussed this earlier. Rob, Paul, can I get your take?
We've discussed this a long time ago as well, though. We've discussed this many, many times since her passing.
We have, but we haven't had such concrete position on it from a high-level member of Lucasfilm. What do you make of this announcement? Because I was really, just to sort of frame my opinion, I was really put out that she made a comment before I'd seen 8 that Carrie wouldn't be in 9 because it's now set me up to think a certain way about Leia's fate.
Of course. I think from her point of view, it's twofold. Number one, it's... this sounds a little cynical, and I apologise if it upsets people, but number one, it keeps the taste buds wet because it means people will continually be thinking, what they're going to do, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And number two, she's simply stating it, el facto, that this is the direction we're going, and what happened didn't allow us to do A, B, and C. So I'm not entirely sure if there was a little bit of let's keep them thinking kind of behind it and so on, because that is what is going to happen now. Every single fan's going to be sitting there like, okay, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do that? What's going to happen halfway through episode 8? What's going to happen 3/4 of the way through episode 8, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, I remember, I might be wrong, but my memory is not what it was. I think I said I would have absolutely no problem at all if, as a sort of in-line tribute to Carrie, they did lay her to rest in the movie.
Yeah.
I said I would have no issue with that whatsoever. And it would have upset a lot of people, but if they celebrated Princess Leia in the same way that we celebrated Carrie during Star Wars Celebration and so on, if they actually laid her to rest in the movie as part of the story, that I wouldn't find that offensive, because I think she's getting the tribute she deserves in full, if you like. And I don't think it's too tacky either. I just think it's, we had to say goodbye to Han. Not being funny, guys, I think we're going to get to say goodbye to Luke eventually and so on. And hence the Last Jedi situation. But the way to reveal it, a little sticky, to be honest. The other thing is she actually sounded a little cold in the interview too.
Yeah,
it was very matter of fact, wasn't it? It really,
Rob pointed out that she really controls these situations. Kathleen Kennedy.
She is Leia.
She's an absolute pro. Yeah, she is. She is like Lucasfilm's Leia, and I think that coldness is just her. It's not like she's detached. It's just her sort of.
She's a matter of fact businesswoman.
Reaffirming the position, the official position, which is that there is no way. Like Todd Fisher spoke out of school, and he had no business making those comments at this time. She was just shutting that down. But which is what you said, isn't it, Rob?
She could have said wait and see.
Yeah, they're down. If she'd have said that, I would still be over here rattling my saber, saying, "Nope, that's not the right thing." She's damned if she does. She's damned. I'm aware of the situation. She's damned if she does, and she's damned if she don't. And I just wish I didn't know going in. And this is the thing that really confuses me, right? You got Bob Iger saying, on the subject of Carrie's passing, 8 is done. 8 is remaining unchanged, right? That's what he said. We haven't altered anything, so it would almost imply that Carrie's going to make it out of 8, because we know that Carrie had commitments for 9, because she made the statement at Celebration last year that she was just about to start the next one. So if Carrie's character made it out of 8 and 8's remaining unchanged, that means they've got to resolve the loss of Carrie in 9, which should mean resolving the loss of Leia in 9 or recasting. Because remember, she's just said no Carrie in 9. She hasn't said no Leia in 9.
Do you remember what happened to Princess Leia when she was born?
What, being whisked away?
Yeah.
You think she could
head
off?
Because it's all right. Let's put it out. She possibly has links to the Jedi, right?
Yes.
Right.
If it's the Last Jedi, she has to be moved away also, or something along those lines. But that's my tuppence worth.
To a point, but one of the things they've covered in the books is that she's very much shied away from any kind of formal Jedi training. So she may have explored the use of some of her abilities, but she's not ever gone down she wouldn't have been part of Luke's academy, for instance.
Lack of use of ability doesn't mean lack of ability, though.
No, but
she's certainly got ability in this movie, we're being told.
So, right, okay, well that's more interesting as well. So I'm wondering if there's a hired away situation coming.
Yeah, I think that's
for her and the galaxy's own good.
That's a dangerous step to take forward, though, because that would need to be resolved itself, wouldn't it? If you move Leia
you can't just
into
have
a position,
go away, and it's like, oh, she's fine.
Yeah,
and then just like one day in like episode 11, they're just like, yeah, she's.
They can't win then, can they?
Well, no, absolutely
no,
not.
They can't. They can't win.
No. The key takeaway from that audio clip is she said no Carrie, no, she didn't say no Leia.
Exactly. That's the thing. Now I'm 90% certain that she means both, and that we're being somewhat pedantic in saying, well, she didn't say no Leia.
Yeah, maybe.
It might be that yes, we will get Leia in
we
some
won't
form.
see Carrie in episode 9.
That's a really good point.
One of the suggestions I made earlier, Paul, was that you might find that Leia isn't available. Like if there's an attempt on her life, which they've set that up in the Bloodline book, and they've
well, she's the sister of. There's definitely going to be.
Yeah, and rumors are, and because she's the daughter of Vader as well, in Bloodline there are attempts made on her life, and they certainly, if rumors are to be believed, that there's an attempt on her life in this film that leaves her out of commission for some portion of the movie. I said to Rob earlier that maybe she could use the Force to communicate through another character, and they could just move her story responsibilities to Billy Lord, so that character, who seems to be quite close to General Leia in The Force Awakens, could connect with Leia through the Force and communicate all of her positions in dialogue. I think that's a cheap way of doing it because that's just come off the top of my head, but that's an option. It could even go through Rey, it could go through Luke. But if you don't want to use Carrie, you don't want to use a Force Ghost, you don't want to use a likeness, your options become extremely limited, don't they?
Yes. And this is what I said before. This is why I think they're going to live to regret the comments about no CG so early on. I think that's going to come back and bite them.
Yeah.
So that is official. Yeah? They're not going down that avenue.
Well, they said for episode 8, but it construed as it's never happening.
Yeah, and with Kathleen's comments here, I think you can add those two things up and say that this is done. We're done with Leia in 8.
But you can't make guarantees because you don't know what hurdle you might kick next. So
exactly. So
they've got to allow some leeway on this.
So they shouldn't be making comments like this until the film's about to drop. It's too far out to say it on this side of episode 8. I think it's too soon because you don't want to let the audience know what happens to that character. You don't want to rule out any option for continuing that character's story. They've made the decision and they're sticking to it. I'll respect that decision, of course. I just don't want to know it yet. I'd much rather know it after I've seen 8, when the story has told me what Leia's fate is, and then I can intelligently consider what's being told to me by Lucasfilm.
Yeah, fair enough. That's not an unreasonable position.
It might be a simple case of a recast, though, guys.
Well, that's just not a simple case, though. I mean, it is a straightforward thing to do, but you're going to burn so much goodwill doing that.
For sure. I say this is what I was when I was on Time of the Saber the other day. I said I found it baffling that people almost implicitly, by their suggestion of I'm good with no CG, almost says they prefer a recast.
Yeah.
And the fact is, when you tell people, when you actually run the idea by them, they do a disgusted Sulu. They go ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't imagine that being a case. I mean, we've got Jimmy V now inside R2D2 because we lost Kenny Baker.
Yeah,
that's you have to accept that.
Yep.
And we've got Junus Sawamoto inside Chewbacca because Peter Mayhew's not.
He can't walk for more than half an hour, can he, the poor guy?
He's not fit enough to do it. So even Junus is doing the Han Solo movie as well, and probably he'll do all the heavy lifting in The Last Jedi. So, even that, to think that we're losing a couple of major players, even though they're not represented photographically on screen.
I was about to say it's facial representation that's the key, isn't it?
It's still a thing where, you could probably pick out Peter's scenes in The Force Awakens from the ones that Junus did.
I think absolutely can.
Not just the ones that rely on his mobility.
Yeah.
And I imagine Jimmy V's going to have a challenge animating that R2D2 the way Kenny did it. And that's why R2 was off to one side in Force Awakens, I'm sure of it. Because Kenny couldn't be in there animating that thing the way we recognise it, Those little hops, little head turns. So they're characters that are under, and look at Vader. Spencer Wilding in Rogue One under the armour of Vader, and you could tell that wasn't him. There's a movement that David Prowse had, this purpose, this stride, almost a swagger that was missing from Vader in Not in every scene, but in most scenes.
And the Yorkshire accent was missing as well, which I found very jarring.
Well, that was the big thing, I think. Yeah.
And he didn't help anyone cross the road or anything.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that if you put the wrong costume on?
I don't even think I saw him on a road. Like, just like I get that you don't want to be typecast.
We're going. We don't need roads.
Yeah.
Pop culture tangents, right? Should we leave that thing there with Carrie? Because
they're in a cage with no gate here.
Yeah, they are.
Seriously. So,
and I want to support them. I think
seriously. I know, but I'm going to tell you off right now. You've got to cut some slack on this.
Yeah, you're right. I absolutely do. I do. I know that.
They really are. There's no gate. There's no lock. There's no key. And whichever direction they go with their file, they're going to upset a lot of people. And I think everyone's got to go, well, because there is no get out clause on this, we have to happily deal with whatever solution they throw at us.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got two I'm perfectly happy with.
Don't forget that little situation. George says, guys, it's a film for 12-year-olds. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's not let the religion overtake the storyline sometimes. I know it's hard because that's how much we delve into it, but Mark, chill.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I shall commence chilling immediately. All right, should we start our breakdown?
Rob was going to say something.
Rob, sorry.
I think somebody just had their breakdown, didn't they?
Rob, you said you had two. Do you mean you had two options that you were in support of for?
Yeah, as much as you can be. The two options I would be fine with is CG and the one I mentioned, which is the ship blows up with her on it.
Yes. Yeah.
Which you can depict on screen, and it's not an off-screen dispatch in the traditional sense, but it is clear what's just happened. And you can film reactions, you can do the works.
And you can use footage of Carrie on the bridge of that ship as well to really drive that home.
Yeah.
And that could be an enormous calling point for Luke.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? You look at the way he lost it at the end of Jedi when his sister was mentioned.
See, look, Mark's excited now.
Yeah, that's it. Chilling has commenced. All right, let's get into our breakdown for the trailer for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Right, so that was from the trailer for The Last Jedi, which I think we are all pretty much excited about. And we've got a still store on our screens that we can roll through. Hey, Rob, you got that up?
Yeah, I've got it here. Yeah.
Paul, can you see?
Is that yours?
This is a still store I took. I took this whilst being watched by somebody at Celebration.
I'm confused.
What's that?
You talk about your site?
Yeah.
That's where I'm. I've looked at this a few times, to be honest.
Well, I snuck off to one side with the trailer at Celebration, and I sat on the floor outside the gents' toilets. Something I'm not a stranger.
You're normally inside. You're normally inside.
Yeah, but not sitting on the floor.
Unscrewing the bulb.
And I was sitting there with this trailer, and I was taking screen grabs of every sort of frame, pretty much every sort of frame. And someone just came over and wandered over, just stood next to me, and watched everything I was doing. Just some member of the public. So
it's like the guy that leans over when you're standing at the thingy.
Yeah, it was like I was an art installation. It was quite interesting. But so let's get first reactions. Rob, let's start with you.
Yep.
What were your initial reactions to this trailer, mate?
I thought the trailer was, in terms of how little it gave away and how much it got people hyped, it was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Absolutely flawlessly done. In terms of what was actually in it, there's not a lot there, but what is there, it looks pretty, visually it's very impressive.
Yeah, so it's gorgeous looking.
Yeah, and so I'm jazzed,
Yeah, every one of these shots is like a mini poster, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Paul, your initial reaction?
Yeah, no, I thought they're very, very clever of use of big and small at the same time. It's like you're crossing what feels like this broad ocean and this enormous situation, and at the same time you're going to this tiny little island where something enormous is happening. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
I really like the way they played with that. The way they sort of emotionally sized elements was very, very, very clever. I have to give it to Ryan. He really did knock the park out on that one. There was a couple of bits in it that I did roll my eyes at, and we'll go through all those eventually and so on and so forth. But the general delivery was extremely clever. It's interesting how many people scream, shout, cry, and die for 30 seconds of very little. Yeah. So, some of the shots after in the convention hall when they're saying this, people were sobbing. So come on, it's a trailer. But
the thing is, in that environment,
your religion is your religion. So I know.
Remember last year? Game. Remember last year, Paul, in London with the Rogue One thing? I think Andy and I were practically blubbing when Vader was on the. I couldn't tell, obviously, if he was crying because I was too busy crying myself. But it's when Vader popped up on screen, the Rogue One trailer, everyone lost their minds. It's just you're in that environment.
I wasn't in there. I didn't have the band for that one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Someone was without a seat.
Dear me.
Does Rob know the story on
just whip them out and measure them, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. The audio design of this trailer as well was something that really stood out to me. I don't think I've quite plucked everything out of it yet. There's so much layered in there.
Yeah.
Literally, because there's young layers, help me Obi-Wan Kenobi is laid in there.
I caught that bit.
There's a line from Vader. There's a line from Palpatine.
Yeah, there's loads of bits. There's loads of bits people are telling me are in there.
Vader's breathing.
Pick up on. I caught the Vader's breathing. Yeah,
and
that was Luke's asthma. I think
the score. It could have been me at the moment with the
not a young man anymore.
General Grievous come back. I'm calling it now.
So Rob, how long were you in LA doing all these voiceovers for them, Rob?
Oh, a couple of hours. I'm a pro, mate. I can get a lot of these done first take.
There's a Palpacino in there, is there?
It's a Palpacino, and
right under the.
Whoa! Use the Force. Wow!
Skywalking. All right, should we go through these scenes here? Because this very first one does fade up from black, and it looks like a starfield at the start.
I thought that was so well done.
Opening crawl moment, maybe.
Well, that was. I was talking to Dan Solo, and I think he said to me, "Do you think that's the way this will start?"
No.
And there was. If we go back to the Force Awakens, there was speculation on the site by me.
Yeah.
That there was a shot of Rey. The first moment we ever see Rey is a sort of slam cut of a starfield, and then it cuts to her opening a door, and she's inside the wreckage of the downed Star Destroyer. Mm-hmm. It's a similar situation where I looked at that and thought, this is a starfield. I think this might be the opening moment of the movie, and of course, it's nowhere near. So often with these things, just because it looks that convenient, it isn't.
Yeah,
but I did like that sleight of hand. It might be, yeah. You might be right.
I still make that. There's not enough there for me to say, that we wouldn't be able to connect the dots. Basically, if they're saying, they want to pick up right where the other one left off, there's a big gap that's missing there.
Yeah.
Because in this trailer, right? So you've got this thing that fades from black to a sort of looks like a starfield, it's all mottled and stuff, and then you get this rock.
Actually, true. Then it's the slam down, isn't it? So,
it's the slam down. So it's like, well, hang on, when did she get here? Why is she?
But you don't know what happens on the edit.
How do you mean?
Well, slam down, cut to black. Who knows?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Well, I think this goes.
That would be a weird first shot, though.
Yeah, it would be. It would be and it has to work for an audience, a new audience as well.
Yeah,
another new audience.
It has to work for an audience who hasn't seen The Force Awakens as recently as a more hardcore fan.
Hang on a minute. Everybody in the world saw
yeah.
They saw it, but they might have just seen it once at the pictures, not picked it up on DVD, and then that's their last time they've seen it.
I'm taking the Rogue One approach. Then they're stupid.
It's kind of a rule of thumb.
You're allowed to be wrong, Paul. That's fine.
They need to make these things for an audience that's never seen one of these films before. Because it might be their first entrance into it. And I think this would be a confusing entrance with this hand slamming down on the rock.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what's happening, actually, by the way. I'm just being devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I know what's happening to her in this scene, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's move on to this picture of Ray. She's clearly in distress.
Yep.
Has she come out of that cave behind her?
Yep.
You think, yeah?
Yep.
Maybe, yeah.
So is this a Luke in the tree cave kind of trial?
Could be.
Possibly, but I think another part of the trailer
I have a thought
is
on this,
connected
actually.
to this.
Yes, I have a thought. I don't know if we're going to sync up on this, Paul. It's been known to happen once or twice.
We do sync sometimes, darling.
I should mark the time and put a sound effect in.
Yeah.
Go for it, Rob.
Right, so we can get there because we're going to get there.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'd have changed my mind by then, mate.
Oh, okay.
It's
I'm going to stick to mine.
interesting to see her in such distress, and it's also interesting to see her in exactly the same costume as we left her in. So that, to me, that kind
makes
of
sense, though.
ties the two time frames together, does it?
It doesn't seem like she had a huge bag with her, in terms of like a big hold all, making the most of your luggage allowance on the Falcon, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense that she's kind of travelled light because she doesn't really know, for all she knows, she's probably going there expecting to bring him back.
Yeah, yeah, not.
And actually, he's like, "Oh no! Before you go, let's
do
work on these
scary trials."
Sports stuff."
Chewie's down at the Act 2 luggage belt.
Yeah.
He's sat there. He's on about his 8th latte. He's just sitting there going,
He's playing a game on his phone.
Taking a while. Yeah. Eventually, he's just gonna be like, "Look, we got to go. We got a connecting flight to catch."
Yeah, this is what I think. I think the whole Luke in the initial words are either I've been waiting, and then it's like, "Come with me."
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Or like he just kind of walks off, and sort of she just follows him because she just instinctively knows.
My only concern is it's a little bit like the lightsaber moment in TFA.
Yeah, if what you're thinking is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, the next couple of shots are beauty passes of Skellig Michael Island, showing us Luke's home of Arc 2, which is gorgeous, and you can't dream that stuff up, can you? It's just wonderful. And then we get this really interesting shot of Rey in what looks like a little alcove with the ocean sort of breaking before her,
controlling the sea,
and we're getting Luke's.
We've got our own Aquaman,
Aqua Ray. We get Luke's dialogue up to this point has been instruction to Rey to just breathe.
Yeah, breathe. Yeah,
and sort of he's trying to dial her into the Force, I think. And this is the first time I think we've heard this direct reference to what could be considered the middle in a movie. So he asks her what she sees. She sees the dark, the light, and the balance.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the first time we've had something acknowledged on the big screen that there's something outside of the dark side and then the light side.
Yeah.
And the next image is a cross-legged Rey. I think you can tell there by the sole of her shoe. Which would
it looks like it.
Imply sort of meditation, perhaps.
Yeah, doing a little bit of a Superman resurrection thing.
Yeah, lifting those stones.
Mm.
Is that the lightsaber I can see behind her wrist as well?
Maybe, yeah.
It's like the lightsaber.
It's tough to tell when it's. This is the problem with the stills. It's tough to tell.
Yeah.
It might be really easy to tell when it's in motion.
Yes, yeah.
I can't be sure from here. Possibly. It looks like some sort of machinery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Unless Luke's kind of just plonked himself down next to her. In that, it follows on from that scene that.
Sorry, what are you looking at, guys? Sorry.
We're looking at the one with the stones.
Yeah.
Rey's hand lifting the stones.
Just behind her wrist.
I know, there appears to be a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I
don't think he's giving it back to her.
No.
Well, she's got to practice with something. She doesn't have one.
Sure.
Well, we see her practicing with it in a moment, don't we?
Yeah, I didn't like that shot.
Do you not?
No?
No.
Is it a bit Karate Kid for you?
It was a bit Karate Kid for me.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Sorry, it was really. And I'm like, what's she swishing at?
You can, she's doing the forms at that point, I think. She's doing the forms.
It's like lightsaber kata almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Lightsaber
kata, yeah.
Yeah, there's like 7 different forms of, and Kenobi's like, there's
Form 4, is it, or something?
Something like that. Yeah, there's loads of, like, Mace Windu's the only one who uses one particular form because he invented it, and it's a mix of loads of stuff. I learned that from the Revenge of the Sith audiobook.
Oh, superb.
Because,
there are a few moments in this trailer I think you could sort of drop a pin in and say that they correlate directly to Empire Strikes Back, which I know is going to upset plenty of people.
As long as it's not ham-fisted and overblown.
Yeah,
and
they said to be
too numerous.
They said there should be some expectancy on that, though.
Yeah, like it's huge. There should be a small amount. It shouldn't be over the top. It shouldn't be too blatant. As long as it's kind of handled a little more tidily. I think they can afford to handle it a bit more tidily than Force Awakens because they know they've got a certain interest base.
Yeah.
So I think they can afford to take a few more leaps outwards from there.
Well, I hope so. I mean, this sort of student in this kind of grey khaki sort of garb, lifting stones whilst training with a Jedi Master.
There is that.
There are some beats in there, but
there are. This is true.
Next shot.
So
Leia.
We've got Leia. Is that?
Hang on, Leia. Where are you? Where are you?
Next shot, Paul.
I'm not seeing Leia.
From behind, she's at a table with a starfield.
No, I'm not seeing that on. Am I on the same page as you guys?
You're on Talk Star Wars, right?
Yes.
Yeah, with the still shot gallery.
You've just been looking at.
I'm in your page. All right, rewind. Where the hell do I find this gallery? What's this Talk Star Wars site? Oh, what's this about?
I'm just going to post the link into the.
Send me the link, darling.
Into the show chat.
I'm in your page. Ah.
There we go.
Oh, cool.
This is a link to a slideshow.
Right. Thank you.
And you can go across now and you'll see.
Okay. Yep. Starfield.
Yeah. So we've got Leia there.
And
with a baboon ass.
Yeah. Asthmatic Ray. Nice Oceans. Okay.
Asthmatic Ray.
Right. I'm looking at a picture of Leia now.
Yep.
Oh.
In front of a starfield.
With Luke's missing galaxy bit, probably.
Is it though?
No, I don't think it is.
Is it though?
No. I don't actually think she's tracking Chewie and Rey at this point. I think this is general battle stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is some sort of galactic map of.
Where is the baboon's arse? By the way, I want to.
Her hair. She described her hairstyle as a baboon's arse, didn't she?
It's more like a grease whip now on top.
If this was like
a walnut whip, maybe.
There's language we've been instructed to use, visual language in Star Wars, that suggests that if it's a tactical map, it's the lines on a sheet of glass, right? And if it's navigational, it's one of these things, like in the hold of the Falcon, and in the base on Dakar when they were looking at the missing piece of the map. So this might be, if I'm using the visual language of Star Wars correctly, this is a navigational chart. This is them trying to find something rather than monitor the progress of a campaign.
Maybe they're looking at a particular system that they need to get to, or they're looking at, where to find some information or someone, a person. Yeah, exactly.
Guys, nobody is looking out the damn window.
No one's looking out the window because all there is out there is black. I wonder if this is something to do with Kelly Marie transmission.
Right. Okay.
That they are trying to locate somebody, maybe Justin Theroux's character, or maybe Justin Theroux leads them to the Benicio del Toro character. But I think they're trying to track someone down for whatever reason. I don't know what their motivations are. But just using the visual language of Star Wars, I don't think this is a campaign or a battle that they're monitoring. I think it's navigational because that's the style they use for the charts, right? Is that sound judgment?
Sounds reasonable.
I'd like to point one teeny-weeny thing out. Don't forget the amount of stuff that was offered to us in TFA trailer that actually had no representation in the movie. I'm wondering if they're doing that again on occasion.
Yeah, possibly.
This might just be a representational shot.
They've had more time now. This is the first trailer we've had, this teaser for The Last Jedi, and we're 8 months away. And so they're much closer now to a locked print than Rogue One or TFA were when they first issued footage.
Okay.
And Rogue One was a much more dramatic revision late in the day, but The Force Awakens revealed footage well over a year before the film came out. So a lot of the stuff that was in there, like the passing of the saber and the the passing of the passing of the saber and Kylo staggering through the woods. That is all missing.
It was all
because
it
over
was
a
shot
year
from,
away.
It was a different angle, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was him hooded.
Yeah, the run up to. It seemed like an alternate shot of the run up to encountering them in the forest from his behind him. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Okay, if we jump forward another shot, we got the smashed mask of Kylo Ren.
Yes,
and something else by the looks of things.
Is there?
Oh, the glass all around him.
Plinth, maybe.
It
The
could
one that
be.
he. So it could be like there could be ashes could have dispersed already. So that could be the plinth that he was plonking it in.
Yeah.
With the ashes of his enemies inside.
Yeah. Initially, I thought this was Vader's helmet when I was watching it.
I did, yeah.
Very, very, very first time I saw it, I did, and then I saw the second time I watched it. There's a kind of detail around the eyes, the sort of silver detail.
Yeah, I saw the 3 silver bars.
Yeah,
yeah. Also, it's not burned, which would be Vader's thing.
Yes, yeah.
I think this is a situation where after obviously taking his father, spoiler, he's now released the real me. He's cutting loose the mask of Kylo Ren, and he's still Kylo Ren, but this is now what you're going to see, and I don't think he's going to wear anything else.
Okay. No, I think he's
free and
bare-faced. Not bare-faced, but
it's going to look like a bear.
His face will be bare, yeah.
Like an Ewok.
Have a bear for a face.
Ewok Ren. I'm on exactly the same page as you guys. I think this is him done with I think he can cast off this tool that he needed to use to make himself look terrifying, because now he's sporting a massive scar, just like his grandfather.
Harry Potter, isn't it? Yeah.
We'll talk about the scar when we get to that shot, but.
So on these new shots, now this is an appropriate time to say it, because we've seen Rey, they're in the training, the light side. We've seen this, and she's actually come back with the light and the dark. How now do people feel about Rey going over to the dark side and Kylo coming over to the light side, or being redeemed in some way? Are they still your general feelings that will happen? Or is this throwing a bit of a spanner in the spokes on those thoughts?
It has, actually. I don't think I really thought about it until just now, but I'm less inclined to think at this stage that Rey's going to go to the dark side. I still think that this might be a rescue mission for Ren to bring Ben Solo back. On a rescue mission for Luke and Rey to bring Ben Solo back from the dark side.
Right.
But I think he's probably at a point where he's thrown himself more and more into this dark persona.
So did Anakin.
I don't know. I mean, I think I've always kind of said it from the point of view of, I think that even if she doesn't go, it's going to be a theme about trying to get her to go to the dark. So for Ren and Snoke, that doesn't change.
Yeah.
The only thing he might want, more than that, is revenge for messing his face up.
Yeah.
And for making him look, making him look weak.
The other thing is, I still think the kid's just a puppet for Snoke anyway, and I think he's going to be bitterly disappointed by what happens to him possibly halfway through 9.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah. Okay, moving on from the Kylo Ren mask, we've got we appear to be inside the tree.
Yes, and I like this because the first time I saw the trailer, I have actually watched it lots of times, guys, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I actually thought this was a platform. I was like, "What's that?" Because it was so dark. I was sitting in my lounge, and the sun's blaring on me, so I pulled the curtain over. But it was so bloody dark. Excuse me, French. I actually thought this was a platform. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Hang on a minute, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Ooh, Wills."
Yeah,
ooh.
That's the theory.
That is the theory.
Like, oh, hang on, but it took me about 3 viewings to find that out. So
yeah,
this is actually the clearest shot I've seen of it, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think. Like you just said, the wheels, that was the first thing that was said to me. Do you think that library is the journal? Because I was thinking, this is Luke building a Jedi archive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it makes sense that this is the Journal of the Wheels. And I wonder if Luke's pilgrimage maybe took him to Jeddah and to Coruscant.
Yeah, maybe.
To these places where he could go to Jedi temples and find these different volumes and bring them
He'd
back.
struggle to find anything useful on Jeddah, I would have thought.
Yeah. Yeah,
now.
Krennic didn't really dial that thing up to maximum power, did he? So.
No, so he wiped out the city, but that's about it. So he probably, anything on the outskirts might have been, you know, there might have been hidden stuff as well. So, they're crafty, them Jedis.
Jedi's.
Them Jedi's.
And moving on, one frame we get a look inside one of those books, presumably.
That's the cover to me.
Yeah.
Luke's hand, yeah. Because if you look at the corner binding,
Yeah.
it's like a little lace, and it's just got a
held
fold
together,
on
isn't
it.
it? Yeah.
Sort of thing. It's very, very cleverly done.
So here's where my theory ties in. So
Okay, cool.
I think that cave and that tree are very close together.
Yes.
And when she comes out and slams her hand down on the floor, she's just touched one of the books, and it's shown something to her, much in the same way as it did with TFA.
Yes.
And, you know, if it's the Journal of the Wills, there is probably a book of the dark side in there, because the Journal of the Wills is the entire, you'd presume it's the entire catalogue of the Force, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there'd be a dark side book in there. So maybe she's seen something that she didn't want to see, or that she didn't expect to see, or maybe she touched some item that gave her some insight into the past.
Yes.
Like her heritage, where she comes from, or
the future,
or a possible future, I guess.
It's that psychometry.
That's
again.
where I was going, yeah.
Yeah.
Which she's already done with the lightsaber, mate.
Exactly, yeah. So she only got a little glimpse into the future with the lightsaber, and it didn't quite pan out as it did, because obviously she had Finn with her as well.
So if this is all inside this tree cave,
yeah,
is that what you're saying? That she goes into this cave where you can see these roots, and you've got the Journals of the Will all stacked up on a little shelf, and then where this page is being touched now in this image with the little star, the little Jedi star brand thing.
That's Luke's hand, though, isn't it?
That looks like that would be Luke.
And also that's somebody's pointed out online. That's not the Jedi symbol. That's the grey Jedi symbol.
Right.
Well, that is the balance, isn't it? The grey.
Yeah.
Jedi.
So that's the book of.
You've got like the blue
balance,
wings. The blue is the wings, right? And then you've got the star.
The Star Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is on the poster as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a hell of a prop to own, isn't it?
If she's in there, is she? Is this where we're going to start? Is this where we'll see Yoda inside there? If we see him at all,
I don't know. She might.
Ghostly figure.
She might.
Maybe the Force is a Force ghost and stuff gets overwhelming for her, and that's what she gets up.
This is her Dagobah moment, basically. But I don't think it's an intentional Dagobah moment. I think it's like, let me show you something.
And she sees everything.
She can't deal with it because she's seeing. I think she sees maybe a bit of everything.
Yeah,
that's the problem. The
it's
whole
overwhelming.
Room. I mean, Rob. We're on exactly the same wavelength in relation to what goes on in here. I don't know if it's related to. I don't know if its particular books relate to different parts of the Force, though. I think the whole thing's just an encyclopedia Jedi or encyclopedia Force, shall we say?
I see what you're saying.
Every book deals with everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't have a specific dark side volume.
Not really.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
But it's a case of. I don't know whether she touches one, but the presence of being in there alone. Why are they in a cave?
Yeah,
because they're not safe for everybody. So I think it's just the presence of being in there alone is what does her. And
that's also a good public service announcement about caves as well. Nicely done. They're not safe for everybody.
And she's not wearing a helmet when she comes out in the second scenes.
Today's cave PSA was brought to you by Talkstars. I like what you said there, Paul, actually, about, or what you both just discussed, which is that this tome might contain light and dark side teachings and not really separate them out. So you don't flick through the index and go, well, there's the dark side chapter, I'm just going to read that. If it's all,
your mind to deal with
but it sort of suggests that the Jedi then took apart this whole thing and only paid attention to the pieces they're interested in. They've got like this pick and mix sort of approach to their religion, where they think, well, we'll leave all that dark side stuff over there and we'll just take out the bits that we're interested in using. Which might show that they're the dogma we've heard, the claims of dogma in Star Wars from Palpatine. It suggests that maybe the Jedi were guilty of that, of ignoring one part of a whole.
It's kind of like almost living in an echo chamber, kind of pick and choosing what suits their worldview.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, what suits their worldview.
But we've said that before, haven't we? They just assumed that the good side was also the required balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, that's not called balance, is it?
Especially made no sense when you consider that the Sith had been quiet for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, how can they be eradicated if you already think they're gone?
Yeah, and if you listen to Palpatine's teachings in Revenge of the Sith, he actually says if you're going to understand the Source, you need to look at every aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so the Sith might be a little bit closer to the Source than the Jedi are. If the Jedi are only saying we only want the cream of it and everything else.
Yeah, but isn't it a matter of taking the correct route, and by taking the faster route for the more power, that's what brings out the darker element of it. That's
it might be that, you know, to use this ability for good, you might have to accept that sometimes you have to do things that are unpalatable, and they're the things that the Jedi have said, no, this is off. You know, Anakin wanted to do something. I keep going back to the prequels, but Anakin wanted to do something positive with this negative side of the Force. This thing he'd been told by the Jedi, don't go there, that's dangerous. But he wanted to use that for good, and he was being told no. So are we having the Jedi recontextualized for us now, and it will further help redeem Anakin as a sympathetic character, and in a way diminish what the Jedi were. I know a lot of people will have problems with this, but diminish what the Jedi were, the Jedi that we met, at least in the prequel trilogy, and that might inspire Luke's line at the end of this trailer.
Yeah, well, I maintain that the way we'll come to it.
Yeah. Okay.
We're coming to the end.
Let's jump on now to so we get the Karate Kid moment, the training on the hillside on the cliff face with the lightsaber. As she's learning.
That's Rocky.
She's chasing chickens.
I don't know the Karate Kid theme tune, so I just went with something I knew.
She's drinking raw eggs and chasing chickens in front of Mick.
Choking or chasing?
Chasing. Careful.
Ooh, my.
I like this scene. I like to see her training with the saber and learning the forms, because she might need to call on some of that stuff in this movie, and we'd all be questioning where she got the ability. If she's not shown.
I think she's been handling herself pretty well.
She's done all right so far. Yeah.
Yeah, but if stuff like this is good because it enforces when she does that stuff, people can't say, "Hang on, where'd you get that from?"
Yeah. Yes.
You know, that's a. Yeah. Anyway, that's a
the accusation is a can of worms. So the next shot is our first real image, apart from that one, a layer away from Arc 2 and the Jedi, and this is on the planet Crate.
Yep.
Which is
these are cool. They're like
B-wings.
They're like B-wings meet pod racers.
Yeah, exactly, and they're called skimmers. And
is that ice or desert?
It's a salt flat.
It's a salt flat, and they're just scraping it all away, aren't they?
They're opening up the salt flats, and it looks like underneath it, we're hearing is a volcanic.
So I'm assuming there's a purpose in them
surface.
Doing that. They know what they're doing. It's not just spectacle.
No, if you look on the horizon, you've got
I can see the AT-ATs.
First order walkers.
But these are the big ones, aren't they? They're bigger than the old ones.
These are the big ones.
Gorilla-looking ones, apparently.
These are like twice the size, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sort of like gorillas. They sort of move kind of. They got, I'm guessing, like disjointed sort of shoulders that wouldn't be so. Yeah.
Cool.
It's looking quite exciting. If we just jump, so this skimmer in the middle here is just about to hit the surface, and then the thing that they're dragging along underneath breaks the surface, and if we jump onto the next image, it kicks up a lot of this dust. I wonder if they're literally creating a smoke screen.
Oh, okay.
So that
it's
whatever's
a very X-wing on the water moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and whatever they're between the walkers, and what we're hearing is that this is the hideout of a resistance base. So if they're trying to hide the resistance base by literally creating a smoke screen with this red dust, it might give whatever comes in a second wave assault the advantage over the walkers.
Yeah.
Seems to be.
That's a good shot, actually.
It seems to be quite a logical.
It does seem to. They do seem to be. Well, they either seem to be doing one or two things. They're either these are ships that are outfitted for mining or something to that effect, and they're being kind of, thing about the rebellion and the resistance is they always kind of just adapt to fit what situation they're in.
Like airspeeders and tow cables.
Yeah, exactly. Those weren't designed for taking down walkers necessarily. They were designed for towing, hence the term. But
no, it's the toes on the feet, mate. It's the toes on the feet of the walkers. That's what it is.
Yeah, it was a very target piece of equipment. It's only meant for one thing: to shoot toes on the feet of the walkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's I think that this is a good conclusion to draw, that these things are like you say, Rob, working vehicles with a specific function, and it's being repurposed here to create a distraction whilst the resistance regroup and put together a second wave assault.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's pretty cool.
You can't write this stuff, can you?
No, well, someone has to. So
true.
the next shot is John Boyega. Our first look at Finn.
Yeah.
In what appears to be some sort of medical pod.
Yeah. So I talked about on my Time of the Saber appearance. I initially got a bit taken in by this, and because of the way they juxtaposed the skimmers and the shot of John Boyega, I thought that the one that was skimming across the planet, that was a little bit more awkward and a little bit more ungainly than the other ones, might have had him in kind of hooked up to some sort of neural net.
Yeah. I heard.
But then he's kind of loose. He's kind of, he's not lucid, but he's he's conscious, and they're kind of relying on his brain chemistry to pilot the ship. I've since kind of walked that back, because it looks like when you watch the shot, it looks like he's being wheeled down a corridor.
Yeah.
So I think he might be being evacuated from the resistance base.
Yeah, or off the ship.
That's my kind of feeling on it, because the impression I get is all the attacks we're seeing, sort of, with the shot that's coming up with Poe and all that, they all seem to be on a ship.
Yeah,
they don't seem to be on the ground.
The other thing that supports this medical pod thing is the Aurebesh written on the glass, or reflected on the glass.
Yeah.
Which so I tried
Some
to.
of it apparently reads stable, doesn't it?
It says stable, yeah. I tried to
John Doe.
do a bit of that myself.
But then
He's deceased.
he could also be, that could be a monitor of him. If my pilot theory could still hold water, if he's being monitored at the same time.
Yes.
If it's kind of a modified pod that sort of slots in to a cockpit, replaces it, then it might be, he'd still need to be monitored medically.
Yeah.
There's a good possibility, I think, that he may actually pop out of consciousness, sort of back into consciousness during this bit.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a feeling that while he's being evacuated, he might sort of come to a bit, or maybe they're kind of keeping him in a medically induced state.
Yeah.
And obviously when they move him out and put him mobile, he suddenly can't be doing that anymore. So he'll gradually sort of wake up and probably be in quite considerable pain.
Yeah. Okay, right. Next shot is Poe and BB-8. Again, this seems to be full tilt, I think, on a ship.
Yep.
I think this precedes the shot you're going to see in a minute.
Yeah, well, we'll jump on. So then it certainly appears to be the next shot, doesn't it, of him entering the hangar, and we see these ships being destroyed. It looks like there's an A-wing there off to the left, and we've got his black X-wing.
I'm not convinced his black X-wing comes out of this in good shape, because that explosion reached quite far into the.
He keeps getting ships blown up, doesn't he?
I know, he doesn't have much luck.
His insurance must be through the roof. Seriously.
Yeah. He
Next
doesn't
shot,
even claim, he just pays cash. It's just so much easier.
I do like the X-wings in that. If you look at the X-wing as it is now, it just looks like a standard cool Rolls-Royce engine on the wing, right?
Oh yeah.
But then they're cut in half, and you're like, okay, it can't spin anymore. So how does that work?
No, that's the thing. It's not your traditional turbine engine, is it? By any stretch. Next shot is the Falcon.
Yep,
I love this.
With two black TIE fighters again.
Two first order TIE fighters.
This says to me that at some point in the film, Chewbacca comes back.
Yeah.
From Act. He's not sitting there on Act 2 waiting for Rey forever.
Depending on what's just happened to the X-wing, that might be Poe in there.
Also possible. He might have smuggled away on the Falcon when he couldn't get a ride out, a bit like Leia on Hoth.
This could be one of those things where you want to avoid the soundtrack, because I imagine this might have a piece of music entitled
Poe steals the Falcon kind
or
of time.
Escape. It could be Escape from Arc 2. If the First Order find them, and the only way off is in the Falcon. Yeah. And this is them fleeing Arc 2. But, right. This is potentially one of my favourite moments, if not my favourite moment of the trailer. This is Rey sprinting with the lightsaber ignited.
And she's changed clothes.
Has she?
I don't think that's the same outfit. Is it collar up kind of jacket situation going on?
I think it's the waistcoat she was wearing earlier.
Is it? Okay.
But do you know what this says to me? That vision of Kylo and the Knights of Ren from Force Awakens was a flash forward, and this is the scene we're seeing now.
Okay.
The color palette of this shot just seems to tie in with that shot from the Force Awakens, and I wonder if she's going to.
Oh, in the rain.
This is where she engages the Knights of Ren, and that whole vision that we see in TFA was a flash forward, not a flashback.
All right, I take it back. I've gone back all the way to the second shot, and she's still wearing the same thing. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so fine. You were right. I was wrong. It's the first time for everything, you know.
Next shot is Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
With his old knackered lightsaber.
Yep.
And this is the thing that's really amused me, is how upset people have gotten about this moving Scar.
It's hilarious. I love the reason they gave as well. Did you see the reason they gave?
He just didn't like the way it looked, did he?
He said, I tried it in that place and it looked stupid.
Yeah. And this does look better. And this also...
Depends on whatever your best side is, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
This also looks a little bit like Anakin's Scar from the prequels.
Yeah.
Because he had one in the same place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Harry's.
So that would... Yeah. So this would really suit... This would really pay into Kylo's I so want to be my granddad thing that he's got going on.
Yeah.
I know it's incidental, but I do love that little circular glint in his eyes.
I'll tell you what I really like, as well as that, is the way he does it in Force Awakens as well. He just twists that lightsaber ever so slow.
Yeah,
a little
like
bit
a
like the
rapier.
gangster with a pistol.
With the pistol on the side,
yeah.
I was thinking it's more like a rapier, like you would see an old pirate.
Yeah, you would. They just slowly do it, don't they, as they're preparing. Yeah.
Taunting. I love it. And like you said, the lighting, just
it's
gorgeous.
very well done.
This is what, because Rian Johnson's such a visual, he's a photographer, he's got such a visual style. This whole trailer just looks breathtaking.
Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, can I rewind a minute? Go back to the previous shot, Mark.
Of Ray?
The Ray one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, the flash forward, it was absolutely hammering down with rain.
Yeah.
That's a cloudless sky.
Yeah, but we all know about you and cloudless skies, Paul. Do you remember Avatar?
No. What did I say about Avatar?
We went in to see Avatar, and I said, let's park in the middle of the river in case it snows. And there wasn't a cloud in the sky. You said, you need clouds for snow.
Well, Avatar, as
and we spent 3 hours in snow, right? We spent 3 hours sitting in snow after that. So
yeah.
I mean, anything could happen, couldn't it? But
I'm going to throw something into the mix on these two shots.
Throw it in.
They are both at completely different times of day.
Yes, and probably
so
different locations.
Environments.
I think first Kylo turns up at the Resistance base.
Right.
I think that's his beef straight away, and it might be for Leia.
Yes, going after his mum.
I don't think he's after. I think he's, maybe they dispatched the Knights of Ren, but not Kylo first to Ahch-To.
Okay.
So then they get sort of either dispatched or kind of, thinned out, and then he's like, right, okay, I'm going to have to do it myself.
I think one reason to go after Leia would be that's Luke's Achilles heel, right? It's a good
That's also
point.
very true, yeah.
It's also his.
Good idea. Yeah.
Hi, Mum. Got some laundry.
Yeah. You know that thing I did last time? Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Can I borrow 50 quid?
So the next image, Republic credits are no good there, Rob.
Well, that's no good.
So the next image is clearly from Rey's Force vision. This is.
I think this is Luke retelling it.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's my thought on this, right? So this is Mark. You'll know this as the historically timed exclusive tumbling saber Star Wars theory. But obviously now time has passed. I have a theory on why they've chosen Rian Johnson specifically for Episode 8. And the reason is because if there's one thing Rian Johnson can clearly do is orient us in time traveling into different periods in time. So I think we're not time traveling in this in the strictest sense, not like a Donnie Darko or Interstellar or anything like that. But I do think we're going to be jumping backwards and forwards in the timeline.
Right.
And I think they need a director who is good at keeping people oriented, who understands how you need to communicate where you are in an effective way. So I think that's the reason he is the director of Episode 8, is because that's the one where we're shifting around in the timeline.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there completely. Yeah, to be able to tell that narrative across several time periods.
Yeah, you need somebody who's a strong kind of, who's got a strong experience of dealing with movies that deal with changes in time.
And he's written this script as well, so he will know how to handle it from the get-go.
Oh, massive Easter egg! Can you see it?
What's that?
Are you looking at Luke? Looking at the temple?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, just to the right of R2. What do you see? Indy's hat. Indy's hat.
Where is Indy's hat?
Enormous hat.
It's really big, but
it's like a giant bowler.
Yeah.
Mr. Ben's been there.
I'm going to have to write that up. Mr. Ben. Target reference.
Giant Mr. The Attack of the 50-foot Mr. Ben, obviously, with a hat like that. But
the next shot is
where is
Captain
this?
Phasma and Stormtroopers. Well, initially...
That's a very glassy floor, isn't it? It's
a hanger.
Floor.
Someone else...
I
think
a
Jay
hanger.
pointed this out in the Facebook group, that this would be a hangar. And if you look to the left of frame, you can see sort of architecture that
blue
that.
shiny wall.
Yeah, that blue archway, yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely they're in a hangar.
Yeah, most people, I think, thought this was a continuation of the previous shot. It's not at all.
No, it's not. No,
this would be the attack on Leia's ship that leaves her incapacitated then.
Wondering if that's the remains of Poe's X-Wing.
Could be.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Next shot, we finally get a star battle.
This is where I got really excited. I've got to be honest, guys. I like the battles and stuff.
Space battles.
Rogue One, just that's where I cry. It's like, oh my god, that's phenomenal, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this stuff a lot, and I do love these ships. They're just like tailplanes that are hanging there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Covered in gun turrets.
You know what's cool as well is we've not had a proper ground and space battle in the same movie before.
Not really.
I suppose since Rogue One is
Rogue One
in the saga.
yeah.
Yeah, in the saga. So that would be a nice way of departing from the Empire formula. Jedi. It's not really a battle as such, is it?
No, it's more of a chase, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more like a chase, and there's a little bit sort of
and fend them off. But this looks like
Empire. We had the ground battle, didn't we? But we didn't really have the space battle. And Attack of the Clones, we had the ground battle, and Sith, we had the space battle.
Yeah.
You don't associate these random shots, Mark, or are there specific things you've seen in these?
No, these are just I've just plucked out frames. I mean, this one here's got an A-wing in it, which I thought was pretty cool. An A-wing and an X-wing.
Yep.
But
I can see it.
They're just scenes that frames that I've picked out of particular scenes because they were awesome. And the next one is just look at all those ties.
Oh yeah.
And I really like these sort of ball turrets at the bottom of the fins.
Yeah, they're cool, aren't they?
Gunning turrets.
Yeah, they're pretty nifty.
Like
that's like an old Lancaster bomber kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And like the clone ships, when they were in Attack of the Clones, they had those things, but the clones were in the turrets.
They did, yes.
There's
some poor guy sitting in that.
Another fiery shot of an X-wing.
Mm-hmm.
This looks fantastic.
Why don't they just build much more? Why don't they just build more droids, put them in the turrets, and all go home and drink tea?
Yeah, they should do that, shouldn't they?
A very different loss of life, wouldn't there?
Yeah. This brings us to our final shot, which is Luke in the mouth of the cave, dressed in Hobbit garb. Apparently, he's cosplaying.
Jawa. He wants to be a Jawa.
Yeah. So it's time for the Jedi to end. That's the line. That's the line that you could feel that like a gut punch at Celebration. Yeah. When that we didn't all hear it at first, and someone leant over and said, "I think that was Darth Vader." But when it became apparent what it was, it just tore through everybody. Like, what is Luke talking about? If you look at Dave Donovan's trailer reaction on YouTube, you can see how upset he was at the line from Luke. So,
Dave, I have some respite for you.
Let's do it.
I'm very, very much of the opinion that the line that was delivered at the end is in two parts, and in the middle, because the second part is the only bit where you see Luke actually deliver the line. The other half is kind of delivered over, I think, like a black screen or something. So I think there is another bit in the middle of that.
I think it's at the end.
Line. Oh, really?
It's funny we're on the same wavelength again, darling.
Yes, it happens. It happens. It's been known. But I think, I'm of the opinion that it's interstitched of the first part of the line and the last. This is my point of view, Paul. Yours may vary. But my feeling is that it's the first part and the last part of a bigger line. And I think that something in the middle bit is going to be something to the effect of, unless they can learn to balance, the light and the dark.
We're nearly on the same page. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of. I think we're probably on the same kind of.
That's
mood.
really, that's really smart.
I'm going to make you feel better as well, Mark. After that, he says, "And be reborn."
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Yes.
What's the essence of Star Wars, guys?
Jedi.
Lightsabers.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really following this farm boy who became a Jedi Knight because of his father and because of his sort of adopted uncle and everything else. You can't just, I mean, it's too big a deal to sort of swipe away.
Yeah.
So this is the tip of a very funny little iceberg that they're playing a trick on you in this trailer. I'm fairly convinced anyway, and it's time for the Jedi to end because it needs to be reborn.
What if Luke has really lost all hope at this point? And
that's also possible.
That's why he's hiding out there as well.
Early part of the film, he needs convincing. There's this whole thing from coming out from the interviews around Celebration about never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Well, he might mean it actually, and she might convince him otherwise.
That's
exactly,
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
He might mean it, and then he might see in her, because if you look at that poster, she's right in the center. She's got the star sword. And it looks like, the blade goes from blue to red, so there's some sort of balance there. She might be precisely what he needs. She might be the new hope that he needs to be able to set a new Jedi Order on its feet.
Yeah.
And then we all get to have our cake and eat it because you don't diminish the Jedi that came before in any way.
Yep.
You don't challenge our understanding of them. All we know is that Luke's seen power misappropriated over years and years, and he's seen it right before him with his own flesh and blood. He's failed, and this darkness has risen. She might be what he needs now to be able to say, his position here is it's time for the Jedi to win. We need to box this up and put it away because nothing but trouble that way lies.
Yeah, it might just be a cynical outburst.
Yeah, and she might say, no, we're capable of more.
She kills him.
Of more of that.
Not on my watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she turns to camera and says, "The end."
That'd be really hilarious. And
There's 6 minutes into the film.
I say this fully aware that it will never ever happen, but it would be so funny if they're sort of going through the thing and they're going through the training, and then she turns around to Luke and says, "Why did you leave?" And he turns around and says, "Because I realised that my sister had turned to the dark side." And then it's just like she's just like Carrie Fisher heel turn. And everybody's like, "No way!"
Well, Carrie Fisher, like Snoke pulls the mask off, and it's Carrie Fisher underneath.
Exactly. It's like it's old man Withers. Wants an
I
amusement
would
park.
have got away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling Jedi.
Meddling Jedi.
Right, that's it for the Last Jedi trailer. Oh, I'm so glad we finally got it. I'm so glad we finally got this thing to look at and pick over and think about, and I'm so glad that I got you guys to talk about, because you've opened my mind here with this, what this last line could be, what it could really mean. I love the idea that it's either him being petulant, or it's we haven't seen that line in its fullness. And even if it is the way I've read it, and Luke is hopeless until Rey, whichever of those options is true, works for me.
Yeah.
Right, I know the clock is ticking. We've got a couple of bits still left on the docket, but let's put the pin in those. We can pick them up next time, maybe.
Okay.
And let's wrap this one up there. What a fitting way to end our episode 66.
Time for episode 66 to end.
Yeah, yeah. What does that mean?
Let's discuss it for a while.
Yeah.
Right. Guys, thank you very much for your time this week. Everybody out there, thank you for listening to us again. Thanks for being patient with us through Celebration, because I know that the quality of the podcast last week was a little bit off our usual game, but we're glad that you stuck with us through that. Don't forget, you can head over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and take advantage of that Ron Burgundy guarantee. So whatever you write in there, as long as it's clean, I will read verbatim. So if you want to promote something, that's the place to do it. Head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and become a VIP, because remember, we're starting our monthly giveaways now, and there's plenty to be taken from that community.
And no queues.
And no queues. You do not have to queue for a thing, because I've done all the queuing for you. Email us your questions and comments at talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. It's talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. Or reach out to us on the social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and more. There's plenty of new bodies in that Facebook group now, so we need to start getting your opinions. You're all very interested in there. let's get your thoughts on the show. Gentlemen, where can people find you between episodes?
Paul, you're up, mate.
Sorry, I always do this, don't I? Probably because
Yours is quicker.
Yeah, I know, but I'm the "and" in the beginning. So,
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Okay, right. You can find me on Twitter at Movies Gone News. You can find me at moviesgonenews.com on the interweb. And occasionally I butt into this little Talk Star Wars thing and put in an opinion that usually goes against everybody else's. But
Not today.
It's fun.
Not today. Rob, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rob Wade Vision, and also find the other things I do besides Talk Star Wars by searching Emotionally 14 on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and iTunes.
Rob, when do you sleep, darling?
Not very often, mate.
Okay.
On train station platforms, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh God, blimey, yeah.
I
So it
refer
turns
you
out,
to
Paul,
the top
that
of the show.
the best way to make me sleep is to get me absolutely hammered and then just park me on a train platform bench.
Like a
Because
homeless person.
Yeah, I dozed off like a cheery little hobo on Thursday night when we weren't recording. It turns out, but yeah, no, the answer is I don't sleep very much, Paul. But you know,
You can find Stephen spooning Rob on train platforms when he doesn't realise it, and also you can find him on
Usually asleep.
YouTube at Wild About Nature, and on Twitter at Stephen_Ware. You can find everything I do at talkstarwars.co.uk, and I'm on Twitter at talkstarwars.
speaking of people who don't sleep,
Yeah, this Thursday, I believe it is the round table, and Robert Cast is out looking for new talent for the next episode. So if you want to join him on a recording of the TSW Roundtable, drop us a line at that email address or reach out to Robert on Twitter at RobertMMCast.
Help
Okay,
him polish his dome.
that is that's fascinating. We'll cover that more on the next episode, I think. All right, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take care, guys.
and the force be with you.
I like turtles.
Last Toys.
Talk Star Wars is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Find us at StarWarsCommonwealth.com alongside
The Tumbling Saber Podcast,
the Generation X-Wing Podcast,
the TSW Roundtable,
the Skyhoppers Podcast,
and the Nerd Room Podcast.
Head to StarWarsCommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world.
It's a wrap!
It's a wrap.
Let's talk about Loot Crate. Are you on a quest for epic gear, housewares and collectibles? Loot Crate offers an epic range of pop culture items for less than $20 per month. Whether you're shopping for the geek in your life or you are that geek, Loot Crate is the best surprise you know is coming. Every month there's a different theme and new and exclusive items that you can only get with Loot Crate. Treat yourself every month or give the gift of geeking out to a friend or a loved one. You have until the 19th at 9 PM Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cut-off happens, that's it, it's over. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/TalkStarWars and enter the code TalkStarWars and save $3 off your new subscription today.